You're listening to episode 307 of the Major Issues Podcast. And did somebody say seven? Like Dawn of the Seven? We're here to chop it up about the boys spinoff, Gen V. The Major Issues Podcast starts right now. Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and it's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone, but I would like to do the introduction. We got All-Star Asa in the building again to tackle some things. Are you ready, broski? Welcome.
Always.
You seemed super stoked to tackle this topic, so I had to get you on the line. We are here to talk about the latest live action superhero themed show to come out of Amazon Prime Video, The Boys spinoff, Gen V. Now, I literally saw the entire series in one go this weekend after battling the flu, which I think kind of helps, you know.
Sure.
Really made the sick stuff go by a bit quick. Talk to me about your journey with this show. Was this something that when you saw trailers or news for it that you were initially excited for? Were you a day one watcher when it dropped?
My goal was to be a day one watcher, and then, like most people, life happened. And then one day I was like, oh yeah, let me look into that. And then the last episode had just released. So
okay.
I jumped on it that night. I think my first day I got through 3 episodes. My second day I got through 2, and then the last one was the last night. So I flew through.
And I know you are a loving and caring family man, so it can't be easy to navigate watching this show with the people in your house.
No, I had my wife and she was cooking dinner one night, and I was like, I'm gonna put it on. No one's paying attention or whatever. And then one of the the episode opens with a let's just say a sex scene.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it's done. It's it.
Yeah, we're gonna
this is for after bedtime.
Are you a big fan of The Boys?
Oh yeah, love it, big fan.
Cool.
I like the I didn't read the graphic novels or anything, but
okay.
So all of my experience is strictly from the show. And
I think that's a pretty cool POV, to be honest.
Well, it's such a cool different experience with superheroes.
Yes.
With all the god complexes, I guess quite literally in many cases. Especially with The Boys opens with Huey's girlfriend being spoilers. Exploding from a speech we're hitting her. Like,
I'm also hoping if you guys are on listening to this, you guys have seen The Boys. If not, here's your spoiler warning. Please go see The Boys, because this show actually takes place between the last season of The Boys that just aired and the next one that should be airing sometime next year, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'll say up front is I read the graphic novels in preparation of the show initially, The Boys, right? And superhero comics went through a very weird phase, the same way that the entire world did. The only way I can frame it is in my very small professional wrestling mind. The world went through what's called the Attitude Era, right? Where everybody was anti-heroes, and it was cooler to be bad. The more spotlight on guys like Blade and the Punisher, Deadpool, heroes that were like morally ambiguous. And then just in general, a marathon of evil Superman clones, like from every avenue. People wanted to dissect what would happen if basically the poster child for superheroes turned evil. So when I read The Boys, and I think there's a lot of fun stuff in it, and I think there's definitely a lot of entertaining stuff in it. The book itself is kind of a pizza cutter ish, in the sense that it's kind of all edge and doesn't have any point. So in watching the series, they've managed to do the outright ridiculous stuff that was in the comics, but they know where the morality is centered, and it's not gore for gore's sake, even though sometimes it may seem a bit excessive. And it's not just look at this ridiculous thing we've put on the screen. It usually is to tell something. And I think, like for instance, the amount of gore that we see on shows like this is to kind of show the careless nature in which lives are lost in a world where people can pop your head off like that, right? Like it's supposed to kind of desensitize you because the people in the universe are kind of desensitized. We literally see someone get mopped up in the beginning of an episode in this series when Golden Boy explodes. We literally see him get mopped, like they're just putting him in a bucket or whatever. So yeah, I love all that stuff. I love that, not to get in the weeds of things, but it kind of plays off the worst parts of every political party. Like, like it plays off the pandering nature of one, or the super strict nature of the other. In a world in which we're constantly trying to be like, oh, this show's for us, and and no, and they're making fun of the right people. It's like, no, this is saying how ridiculous everything has gotten. And it kind of came at the perfect time, because a lot of what The Boys is about is this commercialization of superheroes. And I mean, we're at the zenith of that, right? Like with the
Yes.
MCU, the DCU, it's never been bigger. You couldn't have come out with The Boys in 2000. It would have seemed like a exaggeration, like come
Yeah.
on, but I think what it gets right is how close it is. It manages to get to stuff like what we actually see. Like when they did that whole Dawn of the Seven stuff, bro, like I was dying. All that Snyder cut, all that stuff, absolutely hilarious. Brave Maeve's lasagna, like she comes out as gay and they just go out to like, they just gonna put that on Front Street and sell gay lasagna. What does that even mean? They were gonna do like a show for A Train where he goes back to his roots. He runs to Africa and goes
Yes.
back to his roots. It's like
Didn't he
absolutely
request a
ridiculous.
change of uniform?
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Didn't he,
They
yeah, so
yeah,
he
they
went
made
he
like
was
a more
what
African tribal
yes.
uniform, and I think I want to say in season 3. It's absolutely it's so crazy. And then you get, between, I mean, pick one, Butcher and Homelander, like two of the greatest characters in this kind of medium,
Mhm.
diametrically opposed. And like I think Anthony Starr kind of kills it as Homelander. Now I'm a little bit biased. We once put up a Got Milk thing of him and he liked it. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, he's
okay.
my man now.
Fair enough.
I like he knows comic book click. He's my man now. But what do you think of the whole idea, like the Seven, Homelander, this like more the corporate side of what they've done with superheroes here?
I well, one, I like the satirical nature of the entire universe.
Yeah,
And like, kind of like you said, it really plays off of, I mean, the current political climate of our current world, and the furthest pushing of it. Especially when
yeah.
you get down to that, what in was it the Homelander's love interest, the Lightning
Oh,
chick,
Stormfront.
Stormfront, when like
Yeah,
she's literally a Nazi. Like I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Like from 1940s, like
yes,
literally from the
yeah,
right.
she's
Yeah,
quite literally a Nazi, and a Homelander, blonde hair, blue eyes, or boy, you know,
yeah.
um, and then so I really appreciate that. The Seven I love is definitely a clear mockery of the Justice League without
Right,
any of the Justice.
right. No,
It's
no justice.
yeah, the all the corporate nature. I can go on a big long political rant if anyone ever gets bored. Come find me. But
Hey,
like,
bro, yeah, I'm down for it. What's going on? What you got on your mind?
but just of the corporatization of everything. And so
Hmm.
just to see how all the heroes are corporatized, how all right, well you can't do that because that's gonna hurt this bottom line, and if
Yeah,
you do this, you're gonna hurt this person's PR. Like with the sexual assault of of
yeah.
uh,
Starlight,
of I'm sorry, Starlight,
Starlight.
with
Yeah.
the Deep. Like, I mean, there was definitely a level of when you see her kind of come out like the Me Too, which
Hmm.
was a really, really, oh, that's a very interesting topic, how they're going with this. And
Right.
then how it's like, oh, well, it's going to ruin his career. and
Yeah.
then and then
It's
you
like,
get
what
the
do
whole
you mean
octopus.
his career?
Yes,
What the hell are we
yes,
talking about here? Yeah.
yeah, and so I overall the show as a just a satirization of the masturbatory culture of superheroes is
Yeah.
great.
Hmm.
Um, and especially I guess God, I'm just gonna keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But it's especially welcome now with as someone who thoroughly enjoys superhero paraphernalia, movies, video games, works.
Hmm.
I'm feeling a little bit of fatigue, and then
Definitely.
so
Yeah.
to see this like realistic bit
Right. Right.
of
Right.
like how some heroes would be good or bad or um, would be tempted by money or tempted by fame. It's a interesting way to see them both more super and more humanized than like your
Yeah.
Captain America, Soldier Boy. You know,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Soldier Boy is a
so yeah.
trip, bro.
Overall, yeah, I think this has been it's a great media outlet for especially for fatigue people feeling fatigue.
Yeah, yeah, I think it does speak to a lot of that stuff there. When you mentioned Stormfront, you reminded me of two like really poignant moments for me about the show in that season. One of them was she tells him something like, "I don't need everybody. I just need a dedicated army to go online and share my memes." And next thing you know, your uncle's sharing my meme, and he doesn't even know why. And I think
Yes.
about how many grassroots, random crazy fringe, parts of our society started like that. A couple memes at a 4chan or whatever. Now you're in the dark web, making flags and about to do a protest or something like it. It's crazy. That, but then my favorite non-verbal acting moment when Stormfront's telling Ryan that there's doing a white genocide, and Homelander makes this look like, what? Like, I was with you. He said that whole like white genocide thing. I don't know if that's that. People who say that, they're usually going one way about it. But yeah, it's humorous because it understands both our love for heroes and why we attach ourselves to that media, and why almost every part, like we always talk about, we love superheroes if they were here today, but if they were here today with the way we run things today, this is exactly what it would be. Because we're doing things in two, we are believing that we're doing things in one way when really, and again, not to get political, it's all run on money. Like every little bit of it is run on money. So it's funny. And then in a snake eating its own tail moment, now this has a spinoff. So
Yes, exactly.
it's a parody, but it's also kind of doing the money making thing that the regular superhero stuff was doing. As someone who loved The Boys as much as you did, would you recommend Gen V to people without we getting into spoilers?
Oh, for sure. It's very fun. It's a lot smarter, I feel like. But
Interesting.
it's definitely more confined to its own singular bubble. Whereas the boys definitely felt bigger. I mean, from the beginning when one of the scenes where Homelander literally flies and fights a bunch of terrorists and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just kills them all. And he's like, "Thanks for serving, you guys," and flies back. So like,
yeah,
they make it very worldwide. Whereas this was, I feel like, was very confined to the campus and just the surrounding areas, which I
yeah.
thought was a good choice.
I also thought it was pretty interesting because they do a thing in this show where a lot of the heroes are tackling issues, or a lot of the characters, I don't know if they're heroes yet, a lot of the characters are tackling issues that young adults tackle, but they're put through this weird sort of superhero lens. We literally get instances of like cutting, of not really understanding your place in the world when in regards to gender, bulimia, body image, social media, bullying, and all that kind of stuff. Like it all comes into fruition here. It almost makes me wish we had a really cool X-Men show. to be honest. Like I was getting a lot of X-Men vibes from this, and I was like, man, if only we were there already. You know, like if we were at the point where we can have just a pretty chill X-Men. Maybe Gifted was good. I never saw Gifted. Gifted was out there.
I
No,
never watched
not
Gifted.
never snagged you either. Yeah, it didn't snag me. But yeah, I completely agree. I do think it's bitier
Mhm.
because the stuff is smaller. They have you kind of spend more time with these characters and kind of get to know them. Not everyone is black and white in this. I think towards the end, people stand their ground and we kind of
Oh, for
see
sure.
how the land. I mean, the lay of the land. But initially, just like when you're young, you kind of don't know, and you kind of
Mhm.
are influenced by how you were raised and what you're meant to believe in that system. And then there's ultimately the thing that happens in everybody's life. What happens when that system that you've always believed in, you start seeing holes poke through it? You know
Mhm.
what happens when you get disenchanted from what you've been led to believe, and it's usually not great stuff. So yeah, we're all psyched here to talk Gen V. Just wanted to give you guys a bit of a spoiler-free discussion so that if you haven't seen the series yet, you get a little bit of major issues before you go and binge that series and come back over and join us for the rest of this conversation, because we are about to get spoiler heavy in this recap and review. You ready,
Yeah,
broski?
pause right here, go watch the whole series, and come right back. Like,
Yes, come
pick, pick
and then
stuff
think
out.
about it. It's already paused. All you gotta do is press the button, bro. Then now you're a time traveler. Now you got superpowers. You kept us still, and now look. Now we're all here. Now we're all on the same page. Everybody seen Gen V? All right, now let's get into it.
Professor Xavier.
Yeah. So Gen V is an American superhero TV show developed by Craig Rosenberg, Evan Goldberg, and Eric Kripke, serving as a spinoff of The Boys by Kripke, and is based on The Boys comic arc We Gotta Go Now. I actually haven't read that, by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. The series stars Jazz Sinclair, Chance Perdimo, Lizzie Broadway, that's a great name, Maddie Phillips, the best name. I believe this is the woman who plays Jordan Lee. Her name is London Thor.
Hmm.
How? Like how?
Yeah. Way to pick the best stage name.
Yeah,
Like,
London Miss Thor. Miss Thor. It's London. London Thor. Um, Derek Lee and Asa German and Shelly Khan in the main roles. When our story starts, we meet Marie Moreau as Jazz Sinclair. She's a hemokinetic, so she's able to physically manipulate blood. We kind of see her tragic origin, where the appearance of her first period ultimately leads to the death of her parents and causes her sister to start becoming estranged. So like this is kind of straight out of X-Men, right? The whole like idea of puberty kind of knocking into the powers, but it's more insidious in this show because we know now that no one got powers by chance. They've
yes.
all been injected with compound V, and we're led to believe it's primarily from their parents who want them to become something greater.
Hmm.
So you have this moment, and again, thinly veiled, right? The period, and I'm a monster, and like all the kind of stuff that you would think in that moment, not knowing what's going on. But what did you think of this being the very first scene? This murder by blood.
It was such an interesting way to walk out because, like, you meet her dad, and her dad's going on how great A Train is, and like, just it was such a happy like family scene where it's so unlike the boys to have a happy moment. Um,
Well,
but then
yeah, yeah,
um, and then they so much violence when it comes to blood. Like, I
yeah.
it was gratuitous to a fault, but in a good way, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But with the yeah, when she just yeah, when she caused it to explode and like cuts her mom's throat, like
Yeah.
such a wild origin story. Um,
Right. And you're already
I
dealing with
can't.
something in your body that you're not even used to. Like that,
Yes.
she's dealing with all of that, and then, kind of freaks out, and then yeah, accidentally kills her parents, and that basically sets her on a path for the rest of her life. They end up kind of I don't think they jailed her, but they put her in like a institute, the Red River Institute, for these soups that don't have parents or don't have a means. It's interesting. Yeah, A Train was getting inducted almost like a like draft when they draft people in the
Mhm.
NFL. Like he's coming on, he's like, yeah, I worked real hard, and it's a big deal because he's the first African American on the seven.
Mhm.
So her family, being African Americans, is like rooting that on. Again, even though there's still a sinister undertone, I think she was talking. The mothers wasn't a big fan of A Train. She was like, oh, he hangs out with like terrible people.
Yeah.
But it's about the image, and
Mhm.
he's joining the seven, so it's a big deal. Um, like we said, she gets sent to juvenile facility Red River, where she stays until she's accepted into the prestigious God. I can never say this. Godolkin, Godolkin,
I just say
Godolkin.
God, you. God, you so much
That
easier.
will be the last time I say that. Godolkin University, which we're calling God U. God U was founded in 1965 by Thomas God, a behavioral psychologist. He created the school as a front to study superheroes and learn the reasons for their motivations and behaviors. It is attended by superpowered students who learn and train there to become superheroes for 4 years. Their training leads up to the annual Vought Hero Draft, where once a year the best and brightest supes compete for Vought international contracts to protect America's major cities. God U students, Queen Maeve, or I guess God U alumni, Queen Maeve, A Train, and the Deep were all famously drafted to New York City to join the Seven, something that Marie hopes to do as well. And from that, I get a real. And I've been, I served in the military, and I went to Texas. I was stationed in Texas, and I ended up dating this girl from a very small town. Now I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. City never sleeps. Her town had one stoplight in the whole town. You had to drive about 45 minutes to get to like a supermarket. Real quaint, real cool. No issues there. But their big thing was football.
Mhm.
Loved football. And one day I asked her about it, and she was like, "To some of these kids, it's the only way to get out of here. To some of these kids, there's no other. They can't see a path out of here. They're not just going to become a doctor and move to San Francisco. But if they can get an athletic scholarship, if they can get drafted, if they can get picked up, if any coaches or people in general take interest in them, changes their life overnight." And I got real college athlete vibes from a lot of this show, to be honest.
Mhm.
This idea that you kind of have to put everything on the line for the chance to get plucked out and be one of the special ones. And seemingly, in the same vein, if you're not up to snuff, you kind of just get thrown in the pile with everybody else. What do you think about that analogy there?
Well, I thought it was really interesting, especially with the school, how they had the essentially the hero path, the entertainer path.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, we really spoke to that like directly.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was it. Like that's it. Like where it's like, oh, you're either a phenomenal athlete, you're either a genius, or you're funny.
yeah.
You can fight a hamster.
Right,
Like you
right,
can,
right, right, right.
or you have no other role in the society but to be a normal person.
Yeah.
That's where the villains come from, I guess. Oh, also, before we go further, with Marie,
Hmm.
she was actually referenced in The Boys whenever they
Oh,
broke into the River Institute.
okay,
Whenever
okay.
when he's going through the computer, you see her name and like her picture. So like she
Is
was set up a
Oh, they
long
went to
time.
Red River to check out Victoria, right? They knew that she was there or something like that.
I think that's where we first meet Love Sausage. I know that.
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
remember.
I also
um,
we saw him in this. That was a
yes,
flashback, right? Because to my
yes,
knowledge, the sausage is burnt from the
yeah.
last time we.
Oh, yes.
That's the last
Oh,
time I remember that. And man, listen, I'll say it now. Uh, for the decades and decades of cinema that we got away with, where the only nudity was women, boy, this show and the boys love a wang and love to destroy a wang. There's a
oh
lot
yes.
of wang destruction in
Just a lot of
this.
wings in general.
A lot of wangs in
Um,
general.
but I guess to answer your question, no, yeah, it's definitely seemed like a athletics is the most important thing here. Athlete,
Yeah.
it's like because was it the Lamplighter School of Crime Fighting? You know, we're familiar with Lamplighter.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
people that watch the boys are familiar with Lamplighter. But then I don't was the entertainment school just called like
It was
the entertainment?
no, it was Crimson Countess. Remember she had like a
That's it.
webcam series?
That's it.
Yeah, it
So
was Crimson
you
Countess.
get a legendary hero, or you get someone with a webcam.
Right, right.
Um, yeah. So it's there's
It's
definitely
basically parlor tricks, right? At that point.
I would, yeah, probably. Well, with specifically with I guess we called her, it was Little Cricket. Her name was it Emma, I
Yeah.
believe.
Emma. Yep, yep.
I mean, quite literally party tricks, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
What great paths to have. But like you were saying, it's at God U that she does meet her roommate Emma, who can shrink and grow according to how much she eats or throws up. This brings in, like I said, the bulimia factor. Something that becomes an issue when her mom comes into town, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Emma is a YouTuber who goes by Little Cricket and has an interesting sex life. Is that what we're gonna call it that
yeah,
moment
kind
there?
of.
Um,
Well,
I
poor
don't
guy.
I don't know. To be honest, sometimes I don't know who's worse, like the person engaging in it or the person who's like super down for it. Because that guy's like super down for it. He's like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. Can you grab it? Can you kick me in the balls? I think he says at one point.
Yes,
I'm like,
she's
what is
tiny.
going on here? Yes, but he makes him feel huge. Makes him feel
Yeah.
huge. In
It
her
all
hands,
matters.
huge, bro. Huge.
Oh, she needs seven. Sorry, everyone
Ridiculous.
watched the episode. I guess.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. We also meet the upperclassmen, Andre Anderson, Luke Reardon, Jordan Lee, and Kate Dunlap. Andre has the power of magnetism, and his father is the soup polarity. He also gives me like the college athlete, like, or not even that, like the legacy, student is like my dad has a hall named after him, and I'm like not even there, and he like wants me here. You get a lot of that from there, and with the whole powers of magnetism. Luke is the highest ranked student, and he's incredibly powerful. He's like the Human Torch in many ways, Golden Boy. And again, feels like a legacy, clean cut, good old boy, doing what he got to do there. Jordan Lee can shapeshift into different genders, each with their own unique abilities, which I thought was pretty cool. And
Mhm.
Kate can influence people to do anything she says by touching them, although she takes on physical damage by doing so. Who do you think has the best set of skills here in the bunch, or whose skills I guess
Um,
I would you want to have if you had to have one?
well, I know Andre probably, but like
Yeah,
I guess probably because he's a little more durable.
yeah,
He could he just takes the hit like I guess when we see him later on the first episode. Um, Jordan's is the most interesting, I think. It definitely
yeah,
takes the spin of being, I wouldn't call it binary, multi-gendered. I wouldn't
yeah.
know what to call that.
Right.
But especially with the multiple powers of But one of my favorite scenes regarding that was
Hmm.
when Jordan. I'm going to refuse to do pronouns on Jordan, just
Yes, he will just call
the
we'll
word
just call
here.
them Jordan. That
Yes.
works. Yep, yep.
Um, when Jordan would when they're at the bar would transform into a girl to get free drinks.
Yes, yes.
That I
Yeah.
thought that was one of the like, oh, that's a really funny like thing. Like oh, way to take advantage. You got to
And
using your power for
they
good.
it's a like thinly veiled metaphor, but it works
Mhm.
all the way through. And we even get a point of like her parents, their parents, being like, we birthed a strong boy. Like
Yes.
that's who we had. That's who you are. And it's like, no, it's not. I can literally pick. like I can literally choose.
Yeah.
It's
Quite
it's how I
literally.
feel. Yeah, it's how I feel. And the gall. Now that I'm hearing it in my head, for them to say that when they're the ones that injected Jordan with the
Mhm.
ability to do now this thing, So it's like you wouldn't even have to be dealing with this if you weren't experimenting on your children, hoping that they make you money one day.
Yeah,
It's
this show is
bonkers.
infuriating in those
Yes,
aspects where it's like they're they're babies, and then you're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Also, like as a side note, I was at one point, and I'm still currently doing it in my free time. I'm working on a series of novels
Ooh.
regarding superpowered people, and it was something very similar. And so
Okay.
once this came out, I was like, wow, now I have to modify it because it's going to look like a very clear theft from the boys.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes. Well,
so
the greats borrow. The greats are inspired, And if they ask me, you were halfway there before they got there, bro. All right.
oh,
If
for
I'm put
sure,
on the stands,
100%,
that's what I'm going with.
100%.
Um, I'm kind of digging Kate, but she gives me the whole Kilgrave, sort
Mm-hmm.
of,
Yeah.
vibes there. The after effects, I'm not down with it. That whole blood clot eye thing. I can
Oh,
do without that. Same way with Andre. We're gonna find out later
yeah.
on,
The
that
yeah,
he develops like brain issues,
yeah. The brain
almost like
lesions.
mini aneurysm lesions. Yeah, I was gonna say aneurysms, but like things that can lead to an aneurysm, memory loss, all kinds of really critical, damaging things. Um, so yeah, everyone in here almost got a monkey's paw sort of power, and
Well,
I think that's kind of life in a lot of ways, right? You are born to some privilege and born without some. The country that you live in, the skin color that you're in, the height that you are, your family
lucky.
genetics when it comes to food and health, all that kind of stuff. And it's a roll of the dice, and this is what these guys got.
Well, that's one thing I meant to say earlier when we were talking about the one thing about the boys that I really like, or as the franchise in whole, is like people may have superpowers, but there's definitely always or not always, but there's typically a downside to the powers. So
Yeah.
so especially with Cricket, how she has to essentially purge her body of food to shrink, and
Hmm.
then she just eats to go back to normal size. But and
Right.
then especially so that's one of my other favorite things that I really really enjoy. Um, just how complex all the characters have to be.
Well,
Unless you're human.
it puts a light to the trope that most people think that once you get superpowers, like why would you ever complain?
Yeah.
Like life should be perfect, and this shows like it's what like your life is your life. Powers or not,
Mm-hmm.
nothing's gonna change any of that stuff overnight. So yeah, she's this like the plastics. She meets the plastics. They hound her, and they eventually invite her to a club. And at the club, our man Andre, is it, decides that he's gonna do a little party trick for a woman there, and he turns a quarter into a nice little crane, and then he tries to bet the woman that he could throw the crane into a cup. I'm laughing. It's terrible to laugh at this. I just think it's such a low stakes thing that blows up so crazy that it can only be the boys. He goes to magnetically send this bird into some rich guy's cup, but he gets bumped into, and it lacerates the throat of a party goer, and basically she starts to bleed out. But Marie, having the powers of blood kinesis, is able to, I guess, force the blood back into her and kind of like seal the wound, which kind of makes her a hero overnight, but is threatening to expose all of them for their kind of debaucherous activities there. What do you think of this group here? And then this moment.
um. So in this moment, I remember thinking like, one, I'm totally on Marie's side. I had a rough has a rough go of it. Just not doesn't really know how to fit in because she's
Yeah,
literally never been socialized in any which way to this level.
right,
And then so then like I remember thinking, Golden Boy seems a little too good to be true.
right,
He's so genuine. The whole every time he deals with Marie, he's so like, oh, if you don't want to, you don't have to, and just he
right,
seems
right,
so
right.
so I hate to say it, like very warm, like
Yeah,
like no
yeah,
pun intended. Um,
yeah,
and then so I immediately was definitely like, I don't know how much I care about Andre so much.
right,
Especially just right only meeting him, just kind of showing out and then almost kill somebody like
right, right,
by mere accident.
right.
Um, And then I don't know. I didn't. Jordan was kind of like, oh, what a cool power set. We only really experienced Jordan. Didn't they fought in
Oh, we
like
get
the
that jerky moment. We get that jerk moment where she goes to talk to Brick, and
yes,
Jordan's in the receptionist chair, and says like, "Oh, you're not allowed," or "We don't want you here," or something like that. And she's like, "What are you talking about? I
yes,
just got accepted here." Yeah, so she's already kind of being standoffish towards Marie.
yeah. So I think, and then Kate kind of felt like before. I guess before I knew what her powers were, I'm like, oh, she's just like the girlfriend of the it dude.
Yeah,
And
the
then
cheerleader, right?
so
The
yes,
like the cheerleader to the quarterback.
but yeah, no, I was on edge out the gate, but
Yeah,
I but I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to be wrong about Golden Boy. Like
yeah,
he's such an interesting power. And he just seemed like kind of like you say, he kind of seemed like a legacy dude, but like a legacy dude that cares, which I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, that's not a trope we get in a lot of media.
No, no, it isn't.
So I was hopeful. I was so hopeful.
I knew something was up with Kate because at one point she almost forces Marie to take coke, or is it ecstasy or something?
Uh,
Um,
Molly.
Molly, because and then she's like, I'm not, yeah, I'd rather not. And she goes, I could just make you, but I won't. And I was like, what? Like, oh, all right, okay. And that's another thing. That's another thing. Marie is tripping balls while this woman is dying on the ground. You
I
know, we got to
forgot
add
about
that on
that.
top of that. Yeah, she is tripping balls. And she's like, I don't even know. And she can sense the heartbeat. I love how when this starts, and I mean, come on, man. Again, layered metaphor. I love how when this starts, her powers are something that she's scared of because of what they've done, you know?
Mhm.
But the longer that she uses them and the more she learns to understand them, the more powerful that she ends up becoming. Something that she was ashamed of having, of doing, of being able to do, becomes something that's going to take her many places and have more of a useful nature than she initially thought. When you look at her training, it's pretty destructive. She's not mending wounds, you know. She's not checking for pulses. She's like killing you with like daggers of blood. It's the only way I can think. It's like when the symbiote in the video game, like she's just throwing out blood
Yes.
tendrils, and it can be pretty horrifying. And she thinks that that's what her job is with these powers, and we find so many other unique uses for them. I think it's interesting. It's almost a commentary on what you think you're meant to do in this world and what you kind of can't, you know, given your experiences and stuff.
Yeah, she definitely seems to use them very offensively. When I don't know, they almost come off as like defensive slash healing powers more than offensive. But she's only using them, especially out the gate when we see her strictly like she whips the one guy and throws him, and then Andre pins him against the dumpster right at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so it's like these powers are clearly not offensive, but she's very much using them. Also, they're gross.
I mean, look, another thing is, and I remember somebody saying this, I can't remember where, but it's like, why whenever somebody needs blood, they cut directly in the palm of their, like, is there
All
really no
right.
other place? Like, in everything, like, oh, we need blood you know, to put on this stone, and, you know, the rightful blood will open the door. It's like, why are you digging into your palm? There's so many other places that I think you can, like, cut, get the amount you need, and just put that where it gotta go. But she's just carving it into her hand. I mean, one could again thinly veiled metaphor for teen, you know, self harm when you don't understand what things are going on. But ultimately, she will get to a point where, like, she realizes she doesn't have to do that anymore. And like I said,
Yes.
it's a progression of the character, truly understanding what she is. Right now, she's riding on a high because she's gone viral for this moment here where she saves this woman. So she's told to go meet up with the professor. She's super hyped. She goes over there and he's like, yeah, you're getting expelled. Like, you did good work. Thanks for saving that lady, but you're getting expelled. And we're going to be using you to blame for everything that just happened because those guys, you know, they shouldn't have to take the heat for what happened there. Again, kind of pointing to the whole deep of it all, you know, in worst cases, pointing to the Brock Turner of it all, right? Like, he's good old boy. Don't ruin his career. They're doing so well. and you just got here. So, like, what did you think about that whole flip of the script here? And I gotta say, man, Professor Brink, I love Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown's in like absolutely everything, and he's amazing. But go ahead.
Um, it was hard. I guess again, I'm on Marie's side, so like
Yeah,
going in and going like I remember being immediately just frustrated in the situation. For her, it's like, oh, like just because they're important, like, oh, your background dictates that like you can be sacrificed, whereas this is the next Homelander. You know, these are
yeah,
they could all potentially be on the seven one day, whereas you're a pawn in the game of life, you know.
right.
And yeah, that actor, Clancy Brown,
Yeah,
I don't recall him in many things, but every time I do, I'm like, oh, he's a real prick. Great actor.
yeah, yeah. And he's usually like a military man, like a
Yes.
military general, stuff like that. But he's also done a bunch of voices in animation. He came to many people in DC's hearts because he's played everybody under the sun in DC, but usually villains. He voices Grodd in the Flash television series. He was in the Punisher
Oh,
television series. He was the Blacksmith. The blacksmith. He's in the Punisher series. Where he's one of Frank's older superiors. But famously he voices Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
does he really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What a resume.
He voiced Surtur in Ragnarok. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So he gets a lot of those deep growling, commanding voice roles here. But yeah, I'm just like another one I guess bites the dust. She like sits on it, she thinks on it, and then she's like, you know what, I'm going back over there and I'm gonna tell him 1-4. But when she gets there, she's immediately attacked by Golden Boy, who seems to be flipping out. No one can get a word in edgewise with him. No one can calm him down. He goes and kills Brink. Then Golden Boy starts chasing after her, and Jordan League stops in the way. He's able to, they're able to intervene, but not necessarily stop Golden Boy. You end up getting a big gas explosion. Golden Boy comes out. He seemingly looks like he's going to attack Andre, but he just tells him something in his ear, flies up into the sky, and pinatas himself. He just basically explodes. And we are left with the series mystery. Why? Why would somebody who is number one in the rankings, who, like you said, basically has a ticket to the seven as soon as all this is said and done, why would he not only kill himself, but go to the length of killing Brink, who, is kind of helped, quote unquote, foster these children into a situation like this? A hell of a first episode. What did you think of that hook?
Oh, it completely caught me off guard. I remember it was later at night. I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna go to bed. It's a good start. And then, and as soon as he exploded, I'm like, well, I got to go to the next one. Like, there's no way I'll walk away from that. Like you just can't.
No,
Um,
no, yeah, it's such a
and then
visceral thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, like but the when because Marie walks in on him, literally hugging him and causing Brink to burn to death, which has got to be the worst way to go, or at least
Horrifying.
top five.
Right.
And then he's like, "You didn't see this," and she's like, "Okay," and then he's like, "No, you didn't see it. Like, I can't." And then it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like now it's sorry. Oh, beep."
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good on here.
Uh, it's like, oh, now it's real because now and then Jordan Lee, they were such an effective powers where, so is the male one physically very strong and durable
It feels like that's what it is, and the female one can do like maybe psionic blast or some sort of
yeah, okay,
pulse blast.
but very agile, like,
Yeah,
I mean, could read his, like, or the female side could read his moves to a T, and
yeah,
then and could transform on a dime, just like boom, hit back to female, dodge, 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 psionic blast, and then Jordan Lee was. This was the point where I was like, oh, Jordan Lee's legit. Like they're like,
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like not just some jerk with powers, no pun intended.
Right.
But like a legit hero.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's what I was gonna
and
say. Then is because they even make it clear while they're defending Marie that they can't win against Golden Boy. Like
yeah,
they know they can't win, but it's not about winning. If they can stop him from hurting or killing one other person, then that's what they're there to do, and that's basically heroics right there. So
yeah.
we kind of got the most shining example of what one of them can think of when you think of heroics in that moment. Yeah.
But it also unlocked that, oh, what's wrong with Gold? Like, what's going on with Golden Boy? Um,
Yeah.
and then it also, this is the part where I guess it kind of bleeds a little into the second episode where it's like
Yeah.
I really started going on Andre's side a little more. It's almost like he's being forced to be a legacy student. Like he'd rather not be there.
Yeah.
He's always going to be compared. And then having Golden Boy there was like, oh, I can ride the pine. I can be number two. That's fine. And I'm not being thrust into number one, which is not what I seem to want anyways.
Yeah.
Um, so having Andre there made me like, oh, Andre and Marie, and then I started shipping them. So it was
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Yeah. Which gets kind of weird later on when we find out some other allegiances and stuff. But just like Watch wanted to do, they cover up the entire thing with Brink's death and Luke's death. And Marie is given sole credit for stopping Luke and becomes the first freshman to enter God U's top 10 rankings. They put a whole PR team on her. They want to make her the guardian of God U. Her and Andre, I think they wanted to, but he ends up not being able to make the interview. So they're like, screw it. We're just going to focus it on you. She becomes fast friends with a prominent character in the rest of this series, the university dean, Indira Shetty, which I always felt like they just made it could be shitty. I think that she's meant to be shitty and she's a shitty person. And it just feels like it's right there. I just feel like I'm like, come on, man. She's shitty. She's just a little shitty. But she offers her counsel. She's seemingly the kindest person she's met up until this point, but behind the scenes, she makes a point to say that she's Vaught's problem solver, that she knows how to talk to these kids and kind of manipulate them to do what's in the best interest of Vaught. Did you have any spider senses going off when we met Indira, the dean?
I think I'm getting her confused with somebody else at the moment. She's also in The Boys, right?
No, that's Victoria. So
Okay.
This is the woman that doses Kate. We find out later on is the one that's been dosing Kate.
I got Dumbledore vibes from her, but like good ones. Like, oh, maybe there's finally someone there. She still works for Vought, so she's not 100% great, but maybe like she's trying to be the mom that, because she obviously knows the situation. She didn't have. She's gonna know. I was hopeful for. I hope for positivity.
I mean that's the best thing, and like you were just saying, to go into like the mother figure, to go down that alley, we find out that Indira lost her daughter. She had a daughter, lost her daughter, so it almost seems like there's this situation coming together where they both have holes that they can fill, and not the holes that Tech Knight. We'll get to that in a bit. My man Tech Knight and his holes, but. Yeah, it seemingly like the idea that she would even offer her counsel is a huge deal with her being a dean of all these students. It seems like she cares, but we obviously find out that she has other interests. And speaking about people with nefarious interests, Emma hangs out with an influencer, Justine Garcia, who learns the secret behind Emma's shape-shifting powers and then just tells everybody about it. And then when Emma's like, hey, why'd you tell everybody about it? She says, oh, I thought everybody knew. And that's basically open and shut case of that whole situation there. But between that and prior to that, we saw Emma looking at her YouTube comments. Never look at the comments, man. Don't ever look at the comments. You see some of our ComicBookClique comments sometimes, bro.
Yeah. No,
some of that stuff is like, I want to get in there, and I'm like, you know what, man? I leave it because I know someone better is gonna show up and put people in their place.
Oh, I run in and I type it out, and then I'm like, this might look bad on everybody. Like, so
I get the same urges
Let
too,
me
bro. I
just
get the same urges
go
too.
back.
But usually what stops me is I click on the person and they have 5 friends.
Oh
This is
yeah.
what they do all day. All day. They just say unhinged things to get a rise out of people and make or do or criticize content, which is what this woman Justine is doing. And again, with powers, she has power. She could do anything, and she's still choosing to use others to get fame. And it just shows that people are kind of who they are in nature, regardless of whether or not they're wielding any kind of special abilities there. Um, by the grace of God, man, I did not grow up at the time where social media was big. I had a cell phone at 14, but social media was nowhere near accessible on my cell phone. I had Snake on my cell phone.
Oh, you had a Nokia brick.
Yes, basically.
It's the Jordan Lee of phones. It can take a
yes,
date
yes,
meeting.
yes, it can, and it can convert.
Yes, exactly.
The whole thing. So it was perfect at the time, but I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine a world where all of my teen antics are archived, like on someone's phone or on someone's device somewhere. I still get iffy now when like I'm drinking something and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I took a picture of you." I'm like, "Why? What is that for?
Don't
Get
put that
out of
on
here!"
the phone.
Yeah, bonkers. What do you think about that whole nature of something that kids are dealing with today that most people older probably can't even gel with?
Well, one, I'm just glad there's a statute of limitations and that I was
Oh yes,
underage.
yes.
For
Right. Your Honor.
I'm not admitting to anything. I'm just saying, may or may not have done a bit of debauchery when I was a child and just a young
Right.
teenager that was bored. Because I grew up in
Yeah.
Arkansas. All there was, like your friend from Texas, all there was to do was football and be bored and just do bad
Yeah, you
stuff.
do shit. You do a lot of
Yeah,
shit, man.
exactly.
You as a young person, I think you're meant to sort of test your boundaries. Now that's
Mhm.
going to take you to some places, especially
Exactly.
if those boundaries aren't as solid as they should be. But you're meant to kind of see how big the cage is and why we don't touch the bars. And the idea that there are some people doing that but being filmed and then being reminded of those moments, that seems like an actual torture to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, but yeah, but the scene, it just made me think, man, I'm glad I'm old. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I pity my kids in the sense that like their whole lives when we decide to let them get social media, but the
Hmm.
way it's made, the addictiveness of it all
Hmm.
is going to be publicized in such a way that if people choose to watch it, they can. Which, ironically, I guess we're doing this. So, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but so with the that character, just kind of giving out Emma's secret and just telling the world just this really horrible thing that she has to do. It was so infuriating,
It
you
was.
know, and especially with because binging is a real thing, purging is a real issue that is going on today, and so just to have the world know, well, so and so has an eating disorder
Yeah.
for views and for content, oh, just rage inducing.
Do you believe her when she says that she thought everyone knew, or is that just
No,
a
not at all. Not
no,
even,
no?
not even for a second.
I was gonna say,
Like,
how dense do you have to be to not know that that's a hot topic, like a hot button topic to bring up?
yeah, like
Absolutely ridiculous. Hey, man, great power, great responsibilities. That's how it's supposed to go. Anyway. Um, Meanwhile, Andre and Kate launch an investigation into Luke's death, and they find a secret recording that reveals his younger brother Sam is being held in a hidden facility called the Woods, which is secretly run by Shetty underneath the school. Andre breaks off to find this information in Brink's office, but almost gets caught after he manages to locate the Woods. Kate saves him, but suffers a seizure for her troubles. After Marie learns Vought contacted her sister, who doesn't want anything to do with her, she withholds Jordan's involvement in Luke's suicide amidst a television interview. Um, Kind of petty, but she doesn't know anyone there. Like at one point, they try to get on her
what's
case, and
not
she's like,
friends.
"I don't know you guys," and I was like,
Yeah,
"She's kind of right."
yeah, yeah. I was hung out to dry because of you, and we're not friends. Like, what?
Yeah,
I owe nothing to anyone here.
Yeah, kind
Um,
of called me out to like laugh at me. Yeah, kind of like invited me out to be like, hey, look at the new girl. Let's get her drunk
yeah,
and let's get her high and see what
she
happens.
made me do Molly, like,
You know what I'm
or peer
saying?
pressured me, and
Peer
like,
pressure, peer pressure. Um, and then we see ultimately the biggest effects of Kate's uh the side effect of her powers. She uses them too much. She literally gets seizures. She told one of the security guards to suck on the other's nightstick. I think it was. What is that?
oh,
Was that what it was?
something along those lines.
Yeah,
Uh,
it gets dark. It gets dark. I
it's
think in the
phallic
same
in nature.
episode. I think in the same episode, she tells a guy who's being rude about the whole Golden Boy death thing to hit his sack with a baseball
Yes.
bat and yell out Jumanji.
And then later on, you see him just Jumanji,
Yeah,
Jumanji. Great
yeah.
callback.
And those bits down there, things are about to
Oh
get
yeah.
worse for them in a bit. uh, so we get a flashback that gives us some context as we see 3 years ago, Luke and Kate visit Sam in the woods. He's a what do you call it? A patient. I lost
Yes.
the word. He's a patient there. Sam finds out that the brothers got their powers by being dosed with Compound V as children, and in a rage, he ends up killing a security guard. And we're kind of shown that this guy is no joke. Like he can put his fist right through you if need be. Very Homelander ish. Um, so absolutely terrifying. And Luke tries to calm him down, but ultimately Kate uses her powers to calm him down. In the present, Andre and Kate discuss the whole Sam revelation, but that just makes them horny, so they get into it. Another reaction. How did you feel about finding out that they were that? At this point, we just believe that this is a post Luke,
Yeah. Um,
banging.
I don't. I tried to rationalize it, but I don't know if I could like
Right,
if my friend died, if I could call his wife. I don't think
right,
that's.
right,
I'm
right.
not really.
Yeah,
That's not really my cup of tea.
it makes a lot more sense when we learn what we learned later on. But when it
Yes.
initially happened, I was like, "That was fast. Hasn't it been like a day?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
It's been like
going
an
on
hour and a half.
here?"
You just picked up
Yeah,
his meat out of the brick. Like it's in your pocket. Like what are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah. That's true. That's true. He's still sunbaking on the lawn out there. But Dean Shetty invites Marie to a fundraiser gala being held in Brink's honor and uses the event to introduce Marie to like a bunch of bigwigs in the soup community. But this kind of felt like a token mascot sort
Hmm.
of deal. Like, look what we're rolling out. She's new,
Hmm.
she's female, she's black, she's the new, superhero.
She'll be the first
And
black woman in those heaven.
yeah,
Um,
and I think she takes it that way too. Marie's smart. I think she
yeah,
sees it for what it is.
yeah, she rolls with the punches. I think she understands from the get go. Oh, like if they're going to use me, I'm going to use them back.
Yeah. What do you think about her parent small talk? This illusion she's created about like her dad. Yeah, her dad's always watching, and her mom's, totally down for her being excited to be there.
It just made me think of like, oh, she's just embarrassed that people are going to find out the real her. So she's sorry, my children are loud.
No, you're
Um,
no, you're good.
um, it just made me think that she's inventing this world until people find out. So no one goes digging too far into what happened to her parents.
Yeah,
Like she's just getting ahead of the game. Oh, this is what they do, and then so you're like, oh, okay. Well, wouldn't you believe her? She's a hero.
right, right. And the idea that even if it was a mistake, how they would look at her, like that
Yeah,
matters so much to her that she's willing to fabricate an entire parentage, and they're still around, they're still calling, they're still hanging out. They're just not here. They're a little bit
yeah,
busy. Um, so I thought that was pretty interesting there. Emma's mom. Well, the gala brings all the parents over. Like we were talking about, Jordan Lee's parents show up, and they're against their gender shifting nature in general. Emma's mother shows up, and they try to get her to do a reality show about her bulimia. I can't. Some There were like two like gross titles. I can't remember what it was. Like it's like feeling small or something like that.
yeah. Um,
Growing with Emma or something. I can't remember
something growing
exactly
with
what
Emma. Yeah,
it was. Something like just super cheesy. Um, stuff. You can tell Emma's mom's kind of a bit of a like stage mom, I guess is the
mhm,
word we would use. Starlight had a mom like that.
yeah. She also
Start out
reminds
a
me
moment.
of an almond mom.
What's an almond mom?
It's whenever like a lot of times teenage girls are hungry, the mom about here, have some almonds. Don't eat anything. Here, have
Yeah,
some almonds. Don't eat. Don't. I know. She even says, "Oh, I don't want you to eat too much."
right.
Like, and so she reminds me of like an almond mom.
And at this point, we don't even know that she can eat and get
Oh
bigger
yeah,
than her regular size, right?
yes,
So it just seems even crueler. Like, what do you mean you want me to eat? What's
yeah,
going on here? Kind of stuff. And she flips the whole script and, basically lays out that her mom taught her how to kind of purge and, that whole insidious nature of that. Somehow the woman gets like even more excited. She's like, yeah, I love this show. This show's even better than the show I picked from before. Like,
the
absolutely
darkness of
ridiculous.
TLC.
And the darkness of the exploitation of these families. Like, who the hell cares, right? We'll just put this stuff on
Yeah,
TV and people are gonna lap it up.
people are gonna
Honey
watch.
Boo Boo ends at 8, and then Growing with Emma starts at
Yeah,
9. And we're good. So Emma later meets with Marie to reconcile with everything that's been going on. Andre convinces Emma to infiltrate the woods for him using her incredible shrinking powers. Feeling down on herself for being outed about her bulimia, she agrees and successfully finds and speaks with Sam. And they kind of have a little friendly conversation. I was a little bit taken aback by the whole "you're white, so you like Shawshank Redemption." What was it?
uh,
I can't remember that. Oh, Godfather, Shawshank Redemption. I can't
yeah.
remember what third one. I
To be
was
fair,
waiting
he's
for a
right.
Dark Knight call out. I was waiting for a Dark Knight call out, to be honest. I'm talking about in general. Like, I think in general, guys our age, we'd be like, yeah, man, Dark Knight. I love it.
For sure.
Um, but what do you think of this initial thing? What's your read on Sam in this moment? What's your read on Sam? He's obviously a bit unhinged. He's obviously needs, or we're led to believe he needs to be restrained or kept in this box. What is the feeling you're getting on him as he's like interrogating Emma and this whole scene's going down?
It was a lot of pity.
Yeah,
Like he's like you can tell right at the gate. He's like, "Oh, I don't, you're not real." And then so there's already a level of like, "Oh shit, things are wrong with him." Like
yeah,
there is an issue out the gate. Something's wrong with him. And then he's like, "Oh no, I take the medicine. I don't stop. I don't do this." Very much like he's there for a reason, and like
yeah,
it made it more sad. At this point, do we know his brother is? We know his brother's Golden Boy.
yeah,
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then so where it was just kind of like, oh, like this is way sadder. Like this is probably why they told him he died. Why
yeah,
he doesn't think he has brother's dead because like he has so many issues that like him being there is just a whole big problem.
yeah,
It's it also was, I don't know, it was kind of endearing to see him kind of like smile and be happy knowing that there's issues
yeah.
with him.
And I don't know if it's all intentional, but he's funny on occasions.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if, and that humor comes off as charming because like the whole idea of like tell me something only I would know. How I can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
That whole thing is really really funny, and they do have a charming little meet cute in this moment that I think if without this moment a lot of the other stuff is like, well, that came out of nowhere, but this initial establishment of trust between these two. And in this moment, these two are two people basically disregarded by everyone, right?
Yeah.
Emma's made a joke, and he can't be trusted. So they're on the fringe of society, and in this moment, they find each other. It would be romantic if the security guard doesn't show up because they set the alarm off. They figured out somebody's inside. Security guard shows up, starts to use an electrified floor to torture Sam, and Emma is not down with that. She just met this guy, but she's totally down to do what she does next. And she leaps into the security guard's ear and what do you say? Swam, walked,
I don't know.
clawed her way
I
through the
yeah.
brain.
I was like, did she eat her way through? But no, like I don't know what part I have that could physically tear through. Like I don't know what she did.
Brain
Like
tissue. Yeah.
yeah, like it's like it makes me curious. Does she retain her regular strength at that, or is it all based off of her size? Because
I
if it's
was wondering
regular,
that as well.
yeah, probably she could just punch through. But she just,
That's what I was
I would
thinking.
think she burrowed through that guy's ear like a mole.
Yeah.
Um, which is the second worst thing we've seen something happen on the series with a small person.
Right. Yeah. It's not great that that power seemingly doesn't never leads to glory. It leads to holes, never leads to glory. So, and I'll just leave that one there with the audience. But yeah, she, now it's like she's made a choice now. So
Mhm.
now more security guards come in, and the episode kind of ends on a whole like, well, what now? We've now established what this is. Sam ends up waking up and realizing that not only Emma helped him, but now she's in danger because the security guards are about to show up. So he like ruthlessly just slaughters them. There's a trail of bodies
Yes.
where he's at. Um, and he escapes with Emma, and they find an abandoned drive-through to hide in. Years of experimentation and treatment at the woods has caused a mental fracture of sorts inside Sam, and he seems to suffer from delusions, often seeing people as puppets. One of the most fucked like
Yes.
pieces of imagery ever. TV's Jason Ritter. Damn you, TV's Jason Ritter. But he literally sees like a Sesame Street parody that's like,
Mhm.
oh, you need to kill people because they're coming to get you. And if they come to get you, they're gonna come and get Emma. And if you care about Emma, don't you? So you might want to go kill that Dr. Cardosa. And he's like yelling at the TV. Emma's kind of scared because she wants to comfort him and be there in that moment. It's super tragic. But it's also my it excites me because it makes me believe that they could possibly do the Sentry, right? Because the
Yeah.
Sentry is basically someone who's on the brink at any point of complete, insanity. He can give into a negative portion of himself called the Void, but he basically
Yes.
has the powers of Superman. And the whole time, whenever you're reading him, people are talking to him like he's a puppy because they know if they anger him, trick him, or they don't shoot straight with him, he could rip their jugulars out. And I feel like they play that around with Sam, where we know that he's good, I guess, right? Well, where do you sit? Is good
Uh,
is good and bad too black and white in a scenario like this?
well, I think with him, yes. Only
Yeah,
like, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or anything, but like, there's
right.
definitely a little schizophrenia there, where especially when
Yeah,
they're talking to him, they're like, "Oh, you have to kill them. You have to kill everybody." But it's so
yeah,
upbeat, and like, there's a
right.
level of comedy to it where it's like this is, but it's a very dramatic scene that I thought was really funny,
Yeah,
but like only in like the darkest way possible. Because you even see her kind of like, "Hey, let's no, you're fine. Everything's fine. You're not going crazy. No one's gonna hurt us yet. We're safe where we are." Um,
yeah,
but that one was an Asa German, one great name,
yeah.
second greatest name in Gen Z.
Right, right,
But
right.
but dude, just a great acting. Like his
Yeah.
it was off the trick. I find that, well, it's one thing I don't think you don't see a lot of really really phenomenal acting in this, and
Hmm.
that specific scene, the first part of the scene, was
Yeah.
very well done.
Like I'm paraphrasing something that he said, but like the line "Shut up, TV's Jason Ritter" is a ridiculous line to say on the face of it, but he says it with all like genuineness, all authenticity. Like he really wants TV's Jason Ritter to shut up. So I'm laughing, but it's played as incredibly tragic. And earlier in the episode, he expresses his fear that Emma will just leave. He expresses
Yes.
his fear that if Emma, if she finds out too much or, if he does the wrong thing, like everybody else in his life that's ever cared about him, she's just going to leave. And the idea that these puppets would poise that if he doesn't kill, a certain doctor, that she could eventually be put in harm, that's enough for him to now be laser focused on basically taking out anything that's going to get in the way of him being happy with Emma now. Um, and everyone else is just kind of chill. Now they're all freaking out because they don't know where the hell Emma is. She went on this mission. Andre's not even like she's not picking up the phone. I don't know what happened. I sent her out
didn't
there,
give
and
didn't care a bit. Like, all right, what sucks, man?
yeah,
Uh,
we don't know what's going on. So she gets there. She warns everybody else about all of it. Sam's alive. He's out. It's a whole situation. Um, and they were worried about where she was. Now, what she doesn't know is that Marie is also doing her own investigation to find out where she was, which leads her to a student named Rufus. who is you're really shaking your head. It's a psychic. He's a psychic, and he's like, "You need to come sit down next to me so I can get close to you, and I can tell you exactly where Emma is." And all of a sudden, things go to black, and things come back, and she awakens in his dorm room, and he exposes himself to her. Finding herself literally in the middle of sexual assault, she uses her blood powers to make his penis explode. And I said it that way because I don't think I'll ever get permission to say a line like that for any other reason
Yeah.
on this episode. Is it a little on the nose that Rufus is a living roofie?
I never even caught that. That's
okay.
that's really good.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, no, I remember thinking like, oh, he's really, and then that happened. I'm like, oh, he's a piece of shit too. Like, why does everyone suck?
Yeah. Well, it's like Marie's the first one we meet, and she's good. So at least you want a good train. You're like, okay, so we just got to meet some other good people. Emma, you meet next. She's good. You're like, okay, things are kind of going, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there.
Everyone's the worst, no, yeah. The dick explosion both made me cheer and grab my groin simultaneously, which is a very different reaction both ways.
Right.
Immediate, like, oh, like you deserve it, but fuck, like, sorry again. Oh no, but
and the thing is, they do it at a pace that your mind is a bit ahead of what you're like. Oh, is she? Oh my gosh, there's blood in that. Oh no, things are gonna go. And yeah, there's only one way they can go from there. Again, balls hammered with the bat for the Jumanji. Now his penis is exploded, but he deserves it because Jordan, who steps in to assist her, Marie, that is, tells Marie that, oh yeah, he does that. Like he's known for various
you get too close. He just
situations of sexual assault, various types of non-consensual acts, which one gross, absolutely ridiculous, and obviously again thinly layered thing of men committing SA on campuses, etc., so forth. But like the other part of it that bugs me out is this idea that the character of I swore they said the word pheromones, but I think it's like a psychic thing, the blacking out, whatever. But Star Fox, the character in Eternals, played by
Harry Styles.
Played by Harry Styles, has those powers. He has the power of suggestive attraction. He stands near you, and through no fault of your own, you're instantly in love with him and thus convinced to do anything that he says. And there's an entire like She-Hulk storyline where she puts him on trial because she's like, they didn't consent to this. This is not, like you're going about doing this all willy-nilly. You think you're charming. It's like, no, they don't have a choice. And I thought it was interesting to put it in this aspect too. It's like, yeah, that guy would be a jerk. Like that guy would be a jerk who does whatever he needs to get what he wants. So I like that they kind of made it a bit more black and white here because I don't know what they're gonna do in the MCU with that power.
Well, it's also very Kilgrave-esque. Speaking regarding the MCU, like it's, I guess, and but not to spoil anything, but it's very Kilgrave-esque. Where a lot of Jessica Jones season 1, there's definitely a lot of, they don't out and out say it, but there's definitely a lot of implied sexual assault. SA vibes. Throughout the entire series. Which is really well done.
100%, and it's a issue. Like it's a worldwide issue. It's not like they're just making these things up for drama's sake. They're actually putting it on Front Street, and saying that not even a person with superpowers would be above it. And that goes all the way back to the deep stuff, right? That goes all the way back to I mean, we literally saw like multiple superhero orgies of depravity. Like it's seemingly when you have that much power, morals seem to shift, because you don't believe that you have the same. You have to be put to the same standards and applied by the same rules that everybody else, or play by the same rules that everyone else has.
Morality is a good callback to our conversation before we start recording too. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah. It goes full circle.
Yeah.
So, I went a bit ahead here. Penis explosion. So they talk about the dangers of the mystery that they're unsolving, Jordan and Marie. I need your reaction here. And then they kiss. What did you think about Marie and Jordan's kiss? Do you ship Jord Jordy
It was
Morden?
yeah, no,
I can't come up with their celebrity name right now.
Jury.
Jury.
It was
Madame
interesting,
Jury.
like because it was very. It caught me off guard completely because
Mm-hmm.
was it male Jordan that kissed female, or sorry, Marie female? Was it male Jordan that kissed Marie? Right
Yeah, I believe the scene starts off with
at
them both
first.
arguing as women. They're like arguing because they're arguing over being scared over this whole situation,
Yes,
and the you know the conspiracy of it all, and and I think in the moment she's like Marie's kind of defending Jordan, like you were brave and you stood up and you helped, when you didn't have to, and then Jordan shifts over to the male persona and starts kissing her, which I thought
yes.
was pretty interesting. Because I did not see that
Oh,
pairing coming, but I mean,
completely caught off guard. I,
it's college, bro. It's college.
exactly, college.
You're gonna do some things, man. You're gonna do some
A lot of
things.
weird
I
stuff
mean,
happened in college.
not that I know, not that anyone knows. Uh,
College is Vegas. What happens in college stays in college.
yes, but hopefully, just like Vegas, you don't stay in college for too long.
Oh, for sure. 4 days max, 4 years max.
That's it, man. Things get pretty old pretty quick. Um, so the latter half of this episode deals with the celebrity soup Robert Vernon slash Tech Knight, who comes to God You to record an episode of his Vought Plus series, Vought Plus, The Whole Truth. Apparently, apparently, better people than me have pointed out that he says like the word whole like all throughout this episode for various reasons, and it's always talking about plunging holes, getting to the whole truth. He at one point he accuses Andre of eating someone's hole. It's a whole thing. It's a whole
I
thing.
actually, yeah, I just caught that it was called The Whole Truth.
Yes.
Again, I really should have rewatched this like a second or third
No,
time.
you're good. You're good. I'm loving the reactions. But yeah, are you aware at all of Tech Knight's comic book story?
No, I would
So
imagine it's similar.
so in the comics he's more like a Iron Man type, so he's mostly seen in his flying armor, but he is like a businessman. He's
Oh,
rich. He's a
Tech
Bruce
Knight makes
Wayne.
sense.
Yeah, he's a Bruce Wayne Iron Man, literally like Knight Tech, and Tech from
Yeah.
Iron Man and Knight. And then so he has like a butler and stuff. Basically what ends up happening is he ends up getting a brain tumor that forces him to want to screw everything. And eventually, like his Alfred leaves because he tries to screw him. And I'm not talking about like put out wine and talk. Like he just has a physical urge to hump things. And
College.
I believe the comic ends with him dreaming that he's humping the moon. Like he flew to the moon and he's humping the moon, but he gets like hit with like a wheelbarrow in real life, and that's how he just dies. Like it's not. But I'm saying it was a joke for a while when the boys came out. I'm like, they're never doing Tech Night. Come on, man. The guy who humps everything, that's absolutely ridiculous. And even when he's here, he's never in uniform. So I'm like, and I'm not picking up the stuff he's doing every time he grabs something with a hole in it. He's like, he at one point he grabs like a donut with a hole in it. He's like putting his finger around it. He has a tape dispenser at one point. He's putting his finger around it. It's like some subliminal,
I'm
some
just
subliminal
all of this
BS.
coming back now.
Yeah, man.
I didn't pick up any of that.
Oh,
Wow.
he's a holy man. um, but he his whole thing is like he's gonna nail the person who killed Luke. Now everyone's saying Luke is a suicide, but
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna find out, get down to the nitty gritty for my show, and he seems to have some ability of like observation. Like he seems
Mhm.
to be able to like deduce when you're lying, when your pupils are expanding or dilating. I think those might be the same term. When your heart is racing, etc., and so forth. And he uses this like aggressive interrogation tactic on everyone. That's when he kind of puts Andre on Front Street about like sleeping with Kate, and then
Yeah.
he puts Marie on in the hot seat, and basically she ends up revealing that Jordan is the one who was the one to stand up to Golden Boy.
Mhm.
Um, and he just comes right out and tells Shetty that, oh yeah, none of these kids did it. Like, none of these kids. But I'm just gonna pick one and I'm gonna blame it on them for my show. So that's business there. Um, so that's kind of shitty. When he learns that Sam escaped the woods on Shetty's watch, he, like I said, he intends to frame her, but she threatens to expose his unnatural sex urges because of the brain tumor. So he backs off. And I think, is it now or at the end when we get the clips of what this might entail?
He's filming at the end. He's walking away, and he's like, "We'll never know what really happened, but I think we all know. We're all gonna hope that you know Golden Boy's fine." And then he's like, "All right, we're done filming. All right, you guys walk over there. I'm gonna hang out here for a second." And then you see him walk
Uh,
through a tree, and then
oh,
you
so
see
you
the
got a
big
hole in
hole
a
in the
big
tree.
hole in the. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Tech Knight. Um, absolutely ridiculous. So Sam finds Dr. Cardosa in his home and he flips out. He's like, none of you guys are real. All of this is fake. And he starts to get crazy. Everyone shows up to try to use their powers on him. It doesn't work. Emma eventually is able to embiggen by eating something and kind of put him down for a little bit. And again, like just like when with the whole roofie situation, like in mid sentence, Marie's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna," and then it cuts off. And when it comes back, Marie's in bed with Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
and things kind of ended. What were your spider senses telling you at this time?
Oh, I just remember thinking oh, did I fall asleep? Did I miss something? Did I answer my phone and come back and I just missed the whole thing?
Right.
And so I literally had to rewind to go back to where the screen cuts black and then it cuts back in and they're just in bed. And I was like, oh, it's not just me, so I'm with them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Very, very, very abrupt. And again, why here and why now? Right. Like very strange. Like who else would have been at Dr. Cardosa's house?
yeah.
You're all these ideas in your mind. Like last I remember, we were taking down and like a almost psychopathic Superman, and now we're in bed at like a door, like a somebody's house party.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Marie and her friends awaken in various precarious positions. Emma's in the pool. She's like 90
Still
feet tall.
been.
She's huge. She's still in the pool. And then she's like, "Oh, can you find me somewhere to throw up?" So she's just gonna like, that's a lot in her, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say at that size. So there's a river of puke somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, there's like cell phone footage of them partying, but they have no memory of how they got to this house and they can't recall a thing. There's literal cell phone footage of like the girls making out, of Emma, chugging things, big soup energy, I think that's what they called the kind of vibe that she was giving off. Um, but yeah, they can't figure out what's going on. Sam ends up finding Emma and Marie, but they don't recognize him, so that kind of crushes him because he was like, "I thought I had friends, but I'll figure out why you guys can't remember." He runs away. A nervous Cardosa meets with Shetty to discuss his creation of a top secret virus meant to control superpowers. He implies using it on Marie because of her unique powers, or at least using her to maybe even perfect it. But Shetty refuses to involve her and claims that she has a mysterious benefactor, somebody who's looking out for her and making sure that she stays safe. We never find out who that is, right?
I was under the impression that it was the other blood user we're familiar with.
Newman, right?
Yes.
That's
Could
who
be.
I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It was. But I saw somebody else theorize that it might be Giancarlo Esposito's character in opposition of
Oh, yeah.
Newman, almost to make a backup Newman, almost to have like a sort of yeah.
Newman. Um,
Um,
that's interesting. I forgot about him. But he
Yeah,
was
because
he
he got locked up because of her. Remember, she
yeah,
like blew the whistle on all that stuff, and he ends up going to jail. And she's about to run for vice president. So if he's as powerful as it's Stanley Edgar, I believe his name of the character, if he's as powerful as he says he is, if he got all the way to Vought, using his tips and tricks, then maybe he had one thing left in the bag here, and
that's interesting.
this could be the person that he's kind of maybe ushering her along to get to the path in which he needs her. But neither's been confirmed yet. It'd be very interesting to see if they just outright say it. I did not think that this series would line up so close to where the boys
Oh
ended.
yes,
So
I
I'm very excited now because I think that the interplay is completely on the table. Like anyone you want to throw, across from either show, I think is absolutely viable at this point.
I'm curious to see if we get more was it Compound V, the
Yeah,
what Butcher and Huey were using to gain powers. If we
yeah,
get more of that, I don't want to get too far ahead for for the finale of V or for Gen
okay,
V when we have everything happen. But
okay.
okay.
No, no, they left us in a weird position with that too because I believe at the end of that we were finding out that Butcher's dying because
Yes,
of
the V is
taking
poisoning
too much D.
essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and seemingly like it's like again, it's I often say thinly veiled because it's there. If you don't want to see it, you don't want to see it. But it's like your rage is eating you out from the inside. Your vengeance, your constantly searching for vengeance has now brought you to the point where you might not be alive anymore. What does it take? What is it? What really matters in this world? But uh, Kate claims that Rufus is responsible for their amnesia, and they actually have lost more than a day's worth of memory. That would have bugged me out because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"What is it today? Like Tuesday?" And they're like, "No, it's Saturday or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, nah! Somebody better give me all these hours back." I thought a drunk night's a drunk night. I get it. You tell me is the next day, and I got no clue. Like that's got to be the scariest feeling in the
Oh
world,
yeah,
And again, that's how I feel without cell phones.
yeah, no,
I put
exactly.
this out there now, and it's like, come on, ridiculous. She leads Jordan, Andre, and Marie in confronting Rufus, but they lose track of him, and Andre faints. After finding her old diner T-shirt, Emma realizes that she and Marie already know Sam, but they must have been forced to forget him. Speaking of Sam, some officers happen to track him down, and seemingly without any prejudice, and I guess mostly viewing them as puppets. In one of the most creative
Go.
massacres I've ever seen, he just murders the shit out of these officers in a horrifying fashion. And it's horrifying even though you're seeing that it's puppets and confetti. Talk to me about this moment and you seeing this play out.
This was my favorite part in the whole show because so whenever they did the trailer for it, they were like, "Oh, it's this, and there's drama and this and this, and there's puppets." And I was just thinking, how can puppets be involved? And then you
Right.
see him slaughter puppets, and like streamers are coming out of them, and it's clearly streamers, but
Yeah.
like ripping heads off, like. And I just remember thinking, like, this is so violent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see the not puppet version because
Right.
like because it would be so like over the top. But this was the prime comedy for me. Like the idea of murdering puppets.
This
Um
might be a bad analogy cuz I'm on the spot here. But it's almost like how people say that like lingerie or underwear is sexier than completely nude because it's what your mind
yes.
is trying to imagine. Uh, they could have done this live action. Is it anything under what they've done before with showing like
Not at all.
Homelander mow down a whole crowd or it's right there. But this scene almost gets us level up
Mm-hmm.
because we have to imagine what all these actual action scenes would be with real people. At one point, he rips off a guard's arm and shoves it in his mouth.
Yes.
Like, and then I think rips off his head. Like, and then it cuts over and it's him covered in blood and just a bunch of disemboweled bodies. Again, really showing you what this character is capable of. At this point, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be sympathizing with him or not because he seems on a hair trigger. Are you Team Sam all the way, or were you kind of keeping him
Um,
at arm's length?
so this was still the moment where I was like, I still felt bad because again, like though hilarious scene, it's
Hmm.
just clear there's still very clearly a level of schizophrenia, and like so
Oh
it's like
yeah.
it's a level of like he can't control these, especially like because didn't wasn't there a sex scene
Oh,
where
there's one coming up. Yeah, with the
oh, okay,
puppet.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
I won't, I don't want to run
yeah.
any surprises. Um,
Right.
but like, so like, there's just the level of skit. So I'm still like, oh, I now know what he's capable of. I mean, you knew
Mhm.
before, but now you really know what he's capable of because now
Yeah,
you're seeing it happen. But like, you're seeing it from like comedically, but
yeah,
still, so it's like, oh, like this is way worse. But also, like, this is why you had this guy locked up on an electric floor. You know,
yeah.
this is why
It's
he medicated to a fault, probably. Like he's
it's quite obvious that he's not that he can't be held to his own, like left to his own devices,
yes,
right? Because the puppet thing is like what is it, subliminal.
yeah,
Like it just happens, seemingly. And I mean, I can't connect these dots again. I'm not a psychiatrist, but seemingly when like really adult things are about to happen, maybe things that are too adult for him to conceptualize, so he switches
yeah.
to this child like idea of things. It may have helped him cope while he was over there. Very, very reminiscent to what we saw with Black Noir and
Mhm.
his like cartoon characters after his
Cartoons.
brain injury. You
Yeah,
know, like those guys need. I was gonna say need to sit and have a talk, but I think Noir's dead.
yeah. Noir's not. I don't think he's there. I don't think he's available.
Noir's got guy. I mean, I don't know, man. That guy. I remember when they tried to blow his ass up in Butcher's house. uh, who knows? But yeah, super inventive way to have this scene. And I think if we would have just gotten a live action version of this, I don't think we would have remembered it as well as we
Yeah.
remember it now. Um, while looking for more answers, Marie finds and removes a tracking device from her neck. And she tells Kate her suspicion that Shetty and Rufus are responsible for the amnesia. Kate apologizes and then forces Marie to change the subject. After realizing Marie forgot a recent conversation that they had, Jordan goes to reconfront Rufus. Emma finds Sam, who reveals Kate is the culprit after learning she used her mind control powers to make Luke forget Sam's existence.
Mhm.
Emma calls Marie to tell her and Jordan the truth. Andre almost kills Rufus when a tearful Kate arrives to reveal her deception and restore all of his memories. He calls her a monster, and she seems truly tearfully remorseful. There's almost a connection where they want to make here that she mind wiped Luke so many times that she kept unplugging the computer. Like now it's on blue screen of death, and everyone's like, "How did this happen?" And it's like, well, someone's been messing with it this whole time. There's a moment here of tearful remorse. Knowing what we know about how this show ends, do you believe it?
Oh, that's a hard question.
It is
Um,
because I'm wrestling with it myself. I'm not sure. I'm a sucker for women crying. I have sisters, so I was just like, oh, like whatever. But then I was like, but I
so I
we're
think
gonna get into the nature and nurture in a little bit, right? Because we're about to literally walk through memory
yeah.
lane. But yeah, continue. We know she might have grounds to act this way, but is it permittable? Do you think that she really has a heart?
I think it's inherently wrong. But I think she truly does feel bad about Golden Boy. Like, oh, sorry. Hey, my cats. Sorry, cats are fighting. All
You're
right.
good. I actually can't hear them.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just me. Okay. Never mind. I made that up. Cats aren't
Oh,
fighting.
I'm just hearing
Yeah,
cat.
it's schizophrenia.
Get out of his mind, Kate.
Um,
We're trying to talk about whether
no,
or not you've done good things.
the it was like I don't think she meant to break Golden Boy.
Hmm.
I do believe in her own way she was trying to save him,
Right.
albeit the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think her intentions there were good
Hmm.
until we see otherwise. But
Right.
I also think that as you people, or as she's using, I mean, we're about to see it. but as the more she uses her powers on someone, the weaker they slowly get.
Right.
Like almost like someone they're building up a tolerance to whatever she does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one off probably be fine, but like, which also kind of goes back to Sam, where he thought he was alone because his brother stopped visiting him. His brother
Mm.
literally forgot about him until he got a thing saying he's dead. You know,
Right. And
like
that's enough. That's enough to want to,
yeah,
get some good old fashioned revenge.
yeah,
Uh, she, but this is the thing. Like, she tries to make amends by like giving everybody their memories back. It's like, oh my bad. Like, here's your memories, and here's your
yeah.
memories.
Now
But
making me
yeah, but like you said, because she's overusing her powers, she ends up having a seizure and unknowingly traps Marie, Jordan, and Andre in her unraveling subconscious. We dealt with this a bit when we went into Butcher's subconscious. I want to say in season 3, they were trying to capture some mind guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I got you." He
yes,
just like got in Butcher's mind, and we saw like how his family raised him, etc., and so forth. Um, but the first person we meet in Kate's mind is her imaginary friend, Soldier Boy, who not after introducing himself and explaining that she was he's her imaginary boyfriend, goes into great lengths to explain how he helped get her to womanhood.
yes, yes.
Why is Jason Ackles so good in this role? Why is he like he I think has the stock to play an actual factual superhero
Mm-hmm.
or villain. I think he has the gravitas. I think he has the build. He has the stance. It all matches. So when you have all of that package, and he just says some of the most ridiculous things in the world, it's bonkers. But what do you think of Soldier Boy, and especially in this instance here?
Well, one, I think so. Captain America is one of my favorite people.
Gang
But
gang.
Soldier Boy is the my favorite version of Captain America. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
he's just like an old dude from the 40s, and we all have grandpas,
Right.
like like wrong time or whatever. They don't care. And I appreciate that because he's but I also are we sure he's acting? Are we sure he's not just being himself? I don't
Oh,
know.
right. Yeah, yeah. Right. It's so natural. It's just rolling off.
Yeah, like it just either he's phenomenal or he's awful or both. He could be both.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I'm a big fan of him and of what I haven't watched all of Supernatural, but everything else I've seen him in, like I am legitimately like, oh, this guy's amazing. Like I wish, maybe we'll get him in something more concrete one day than
Right.
like
Right.
Soldier Boy.
He
But no,
he voiced Red Hood in Under the Red
yes,
Hood, and he's gone to great lengths to try to kind of wiggle his way into some bat stuff. Like I think that for one Halloween he like purchased a custom made Batman suit and like just took a bunch of pictures in it, kind of like, hey, in case anyone's looking. But I just love what he brings to this role. And you were just talking about him being old. I always remember the line of, yeah, so what's up with Cosby? That guy knows how to party. I'm like, oh,
yes,
come on.
yes.
Come on, bro, the worst. You are the
He's
worst. You're the worst.
uh
Um,
and they're at the party, and he's like, "Oh, we started those. Like, we started
yeah,
the orgy." Like,
yeah,
yeah, like,
him and his grandma orgies.
yes,
Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, but it's so fitting that it's world building that he's such a big character in this world that this little girl would imagine like that's her boy band. God, that's her Justin Timberlake, that's her Johnny Depp, like Timothy Chalamet, whoever's people digging on nowadays. Um and yeah, it's just a bit of world building. Like he's such an icon that, even young girls were finding their womanhood because of him.
or discovering
Uh
themselves because of Jensen Ackles.
yes. Oh yeah, I mean I think a lot of women
I get it.
discovered themselves.
I'm not mad about it. I get it.
No.
I wish I was 6'2" and beautiful, but I'm not. So here we are. Like
He's just gonna do the office quote. I'm aware of the effect I have on women. That's,
yes,
that's just what it is. But he's there like North Star. He warns them. They have to escape her subconscious before she enters a vegetative state. Basically, the synapses in her brain are going off. We have these lightning bolt strikes that signify damage that's happening to her brain because of this overuse of her powers. And in pure comedic fashion, he's like, if you guys need to know one thing, is that you definitely, and then he just blows up. So
Yes.
they get no advice on this journey. Before we get into this journey, I got definite WandaVision vibes, and I also got super like Phoenix vibes, like Jean Grey,
Yeah.
super powerful young girl. People don't really know how to act around her, and how much more dangerous can all this get, kind of stuff. And then I guess with the blocks and stuff moving around again, a little bit of WandaVision there. But they explore her memories, and we see how she accidentally made her brother disappear. Heartbreaking stuff. Mother out there for days, right? Looking for him. I'm a comic book fan, and comic book knowledge tells me that that brother's coming back, because
Oh,
you never ever mention a character and then just be like, and then they just left. I don't know. They just,
yeah.
whoops. What to what point? You if you wanted to hammer home tragedy, he walked away and we found him in a river. You know what I'm saying? He walked away
Yeah.
and we found him in a fire or something like that. But to say that we don't know where he's at, and I wouldn't be surprised if the boys finds a pretty ridiculous person to pin who her brother is in all of this. We also don't know if it's older or younger, right?
I,
Is it
I
younger?
I thought he was like 2 years younger. I thought she was like 8 and he was like 6 or 5. I thought he was just a little
That makes
like
sense.
like the annoying little brother.
That makes sense.
That's true though. I mean, the comic book rules. If you don't see their body, they didn't die.
They ain't die, man. They ain't die. It's like a joke in comic books. Like, you'll start a new story, and a new policeman will join the force, and all of a sudden, there's a bunch of murders by this mysterious
Mhm.
person, and you're like, "Who is it?" It's like it's the new guy. It's the guy who just came into town. That's why all this is happening. So yeah, super super funny. Um, so we we're still in this dreamlike state. We see, how did you respond to how her mother responded to all of this? The way that she ends up treating her, all the way to the point where we see that she's basically in like a vault. Her bedroom's sort of in a vault.
Um, it I don't know, it kind of made sense. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just kind of like I
Is
don't
this
know
the
what.
Elsa? Is this the Elsa
Yeah,
of it
like
all? Like, we don't know, so we're just gonna like put you
yeah,
in the
like
room and
well, she kept her at arm's length. Like, oh, I know you're capable of. Like, you're not. You know, you're not. You were my daughter, but now you're not so much my daughter, kind of
yeah,
thing. It was kind of sad. Again, it's one of those sad origin stories. I mean, every character had one apparently.
yeah,
But Andre and yeah, it's it. Just Andre. Andre's just he's mad at his dad. That's it.
yeah,
But everyone else had
yeah.
a really sad thing. You know, I don't know. Kate with her backstory, she definitely was a level of redemption. Not redemption. That's the
Mhm.
wrong word. A level of like
Understanding. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
understanding how she kind of like she keeps everyone at arm's length, and like she always wears the gloves, which is kind of like so when they come off, oh well, you sucks.
Yeah, you're about to get got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But you also can see how she would then walk into the hands of somebody like Indira Shetty, who shows
mhm.
up, shows her kindness, gives her medication to stop the voices. We later find out she Professor Exter. She basically lowered her powers to a
Mhm.
manageable level, but apparently Kate's capable of much more. We'll find out, the lengths of that in a bit. But yeah, showed her compassion. Sometimes that's all it takes. And we literally see this compassion play with Marie, right? Earlier on in the series. So we see that she's very good at Professor Xing it, showing up in random places and being like, you have a home here. But
Yeah.
her means are super nefarious. So uh she ends up enrolling her into God U. She makes Luke at God U. We see a little meet cute, but then all of a sudden, Dream State Luke is like, "Hey, Andre, why you been screwing my girl, man?" And I'm like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" And basically, we show that during their relationship, these two had been actively seeing one another. This isn't a they didn't have a grief bang.
Yeah.
They like each other, and I think they both even mentioned loving each other. Um, do you think Kate had genuine emotion for Golden Boy? Where does that fracture with the Andre of it all? Or was Andre always like, was it Golden Boy for the status given her tumultuous childhood, or did she really think that that could be what she wanted, and then kind of just went, tasted Andre? It was like, I like this flavor better.
Well, yeah. I think it's yeah, golden boy for the status. Like, look, I'm with number
Yeah,
one, but like
yeah,
low key, she's seeing number two or three or whatever, wherever Andre was ranked at that point.
hmm,
But yeah, like I think I would or she wore golden boy like a beard,
okay,
and then whereas Andre was like the dude, but it's almost like they both knew, hey, well, this is quiet forever because y'all are a thing. But
hmm.
that's like my take on it.
Do you think that Kate and Andre are more concrete? Could that be seen through, or is
Um,
that just, you think, just like a, was it kind of passion, kind of convenience?
I think it was dirty.
Yeah,
I also think that with regarding Kate's upbringing, that everyone's going to be at arm's length. Pun not intended, but
right, right,
like,
right.
but everyone's there. So like, if you're not, I mean, she's connecting with people, but not on like such a way because she herself is also kind of a broken individual.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my take on Kate.
And she's choosing her interactions. Whether or
Yes.
not they're good or bad, you can argue, that to the cows come home. But she's making her choices.
Hmm.
Um, and then, so we're already freaked out because now we're seeing all this really raunchy truth up front. But turns out dreams can attack you, because he starts to chase after them and try to attack them. And they already know that they can't stop him with their powers, but they have no powers in this realm. So they just flee. And they end up going into one of Jordan's memories, where Jordan saved Brink from an enraged Luke who was kind of figuring out everything. And she helps put him down, which then allows Brink to give them a job as his TA, his teacher's assistant. But similarly, Jordan looks like, what's that called? Apprehensive about the whole thing, and then Brink just starts showering compliments. These
Hmm.
kids are so broken that any bit of positive reinforcement, any bit of that boy, that you can give
Hmm.
them, they're willing to do it for that. It just kind of shows you the complete lack of support a lot of them were given, where at the slightest, you know, pat on the back, they kind of forget about,
Yeah.
you know, all they've been done.
It's the moment of going like, "Oh, you're special," and they're like, "Thank you." Like I haven't had that, especially Jordan's parents. We wanted a boy. You're a girl sometimes. Whereas Brink was like, "Oh no, it's fine. Hey, you be
Yeah,
you." Like, "Hey, you saved me. I appreciate you."
yeah,
Everyone. It's all these kids are so broken that they're just so easily malleable that
right.
um that it's just like it's so sad. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
such
super
a
tragic.
tragic show.
Yeah,
Like that's I don't know. It's sad.
and and these are, again, obviously, again, like, all of this is metaphor, but these are real situations that real children go through.
Mm-hmm.
This is how people end up in gangs. This is how people end up in, rough situations in general. How people end up doing illegal things because they end up with the wrong people. But those are the only people who've ever shown them any kind of support or love or any of that stuff. Um, so eventually, they get into another memory of Sam and Luke being experimented on in the woods, and Kate forcing Luke to forget what happened. And then the group enters Marie's memory of her parents' deaths, and we see her sister accuse her of willingly killing them. Oh, and then Emma deflowers Sam, uh, who sees her as a puppet.
Mm-hmm. That
I
was
thought
funny.
he'd make her stop. I thought he's gonna see the puppet and be like, "Chill." He was kind of down to screw that puppet. He
Well,
was,
you kind of said it before, where it was kind of every time he's like a seemingly adult situation about to happen, he reverts back to a child, and
yeah,
so he's like, "No, no, hold on, I kind of want this," and then she kind of he closes his eyes, opens, and then she's normal again, and so
yeah.
almost like he's starting to cast off that level of protection a lot harder, or no pun
Yeah,
intended.
harder.
Uh,
Emma's getting through his defenses.
yes.
Emma is getting past some of his defenses. Eventually, they confront Kate and convince her that, just like them, her trauma-filled upbringing isn't her fault. This causes them all to awaken. Emma and Sam arrive, and Sam immediately and angrily confronts Kate, but Emma talks him down and reveals Shetty is behind all of this. She used Sam to augment Luke's powers and is experimenting on other children. And she used Kate to mind wipe those who stood in her way. Meanwhile, Cardosa tests his virus on a girl named Betsy, which causes her to grow sick and weakens her powers. Initially shocked, Shetty then orders him to make the virus contagious. And now we're starting to really kind of get where all of this is going. Were you connecting those dots? How did you feel with this revelation? She wants to seemingly make an airborne version of this, which would kill Soups.
I think somewhere Butcher is really happy. You know? No,
I love that they connect that dot too, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that through line gets touched on. Yeah.
This to me was probably one of the this was the next mystery after why did Golden Boy do it, was like, oh, like why does she want to kill Soup? Like she's literally like helping these children who are all Soups, who they will all literally die because of this. Like why is she like, are they puppets for the next stage of this? Like what's the point?
Right.
You know, this to me was the second best mystery of the show.
Yeah, I agree. And again, just connecting it to other worldly events in that world, so smart. You just build out the world. It would make sense that the things that we've seen in The Boys would have had long. You were just talking about how huge it was, global, right? Some of this stuff, it would have some effects. It would trickle down. We would meet people affected by some of the things that we've seen, and they do it expertly here. Marie and Jordan break into Shetty's office to gather evidence and present it to VP-elect and professional head popper Victoria Newman, an undercover Soup politician who arrives to God You for a town hall meeting, like the worst town hall meeting of all time, man. That host is an asshole. That host is a straight up jerk. Oh my God. But it's every super political pundit sort of, Bill O'Reilly madness, Rush Limbaugh. It's during this town hall meeting, that we learned that Shetty's family was killed in a plane crash caused by Homelander. She's the transatlantic flight, yada yada. That's big, man.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is we have met these younger Soups, and we are attached to these younger Soups. Marie, Emma, we have some affinity towards them, and so we don't want them to die. We wouldn't want any harm to be caused to them. Even Sam, we understand the whole situation there and how shitty all of this is.
Yeah.
But we also remember how we felt when we saw that plane go down. I don't think anyone who's seen that scene can forget that scene of a man willingly dooming an entire airplane full of people, children who were begged to be taken, to safety, because he didn't want to get caught, not saving all of them, so might as well get them all. Yeah, so with that in mind, what position are you in this? Did you find yourself a bit pulled in both directions here?
Oh, for sure. I agree with Shetty, truth be told. And more than I'm connected to them, like I couldn't imagine losing my kids, much less to like a super powered being that I literally have nothing to stop. And then like the idea of going like, oh, I finally found a way to get it. Like, I get it. Like, I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I understand it.
There's in no way is she more dastardly than Butcher.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, like he straight up kills Soups. He don't give it. And the thing is, him, Huey, like it's all because of an inciting incident. And it actually brings up the question, if something is done wrong to you, are you permitted to do everything in your power to make sure that doesn't happen again? It puts you in a very odd position, because the stance you take against Shetty, you're going to have to look at Butcher in that same light. You're going to have to kind of look at the boys in that same light. If they're anti-Soup, if they're taking Soups down, et cetera, and so forth. It's literally in this conversation with you that I just realized how unique it is to watch a show from the Soup perspective when we spent 3 seasons kind of being anti-Soup.
Well, and you got to think like, or you don't have to. With the mute Asian lady on The Boys is a Soup. Her goal is to kill Soups. Kamiko, that's it. And then Starlight, her goal is to also kill Soups while being. So like, there's a level of like, are you at what cost?
Self-hating?
Yeah.
So like a little bit of self-hating.
Are you mad at parents for forcing you to do this thing? Like, what's the, at what point are we the good guys or the bad guys?
Yeah,
It's hard.
because if you were a puppet and you're mad about that, why would you kill other puppets?
Yeah.
Like,
I,
wouldn't those other people be in the same position that you just were in? There are other members of the Seven that got in just the same way you got. It really does play with that, again, morality of it all.
Mhm.
It's not black and white in a world where this is the realism that people claim that they want in the superhero genre. This uncomfortable gray in
Yeah.
the middle, and I love it. I feel like a lot of edgy media doesn't do the gray because it's too focused on rule of cool. The main character's cool, and there's nothing wrong with him. Even in the boys, we're led to believe like no, Butcher's kind of gone unhinged at this point. He
Yeah.
kind of has gone a bit off the rails. And again, you can defend yourself given that you were attacked, but for how long? And gosh, even saying that out loud, what's going on in the world right now?
No,
Holy
yeah,
hell.
no, it's a lot of loaded questions. A lot of gray
Yeah,
right now.
a lot of gray, man. There's a lot of gray going on here, man. Oh, but you know what? The whole Homelander thing puts her on a scorched earth, mission against the soup community. And we even see a rebellious, drunk Dr. Cardosa come into her office and pee and talk about the virus and all this kind of stuff. Unaware that Marie and Jordan are there or whatever. But to connect it to the boys, Shetty got a soup killing virus. So who does she go to? She goes to Grace Mallory, Butcher's boss. And it's like, hey, you guys hate soups, right? Guess what I got? I got this thing that's about to kill all the soups. And she's like, no, I don't want it. And I love that there's a betrayal in Shetty's eyes. Because Shetty knows that Grace Mallory lost her grandkids because of Lamplighter, which set Mallory on her path. So she thought this was about to be they were gonna high five each other and shit in this moment. Yeah, we're gonna kill them all. And when she says, like, not only am I not down to do this, but if you do this, it still won't bring back your husband and your daughter. She turns around and says, and what about your grandchildren? What a interesting moment. What did you think about that conversation between those two?
It's heavy. It's hard to be like, well, if you incite a genocide, again, not in today's climate, but if you incite a soup genocide, it's not going to bring back people back. Maybe it stops the bad ones, but what about the good ones? Are you what about the ones that are trying to change the world and not Homelander?
You met like the worst possible one. I'm so sorry that was the first one you dealt with, but like he was like the worst one.
He's awful. Like but he's powerful, and
right.
No, it's such a heavy conversation, and I mean, again, like it's fun that this show kind of touches on a lot of today's, I guess, worldwide climate at this point, like with a lot of the tropes and the ideas they kind of hint towards, but they don't out and out say. But there's also no way, that they could have determined this was going to happen in today's world. So
yes and no, I guess.
All right.
The yes I say because like it never stopped, kind of technically.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
But what I will say is this is a conversation about proportional response to trauma. When someone traumatizes you, hurts you, does something absolutely ungodly to you, what are you allowed to respond with? How much rage, venom, how much can you scorch the earth? And I think that in most people's minds, they think of like an equal, right? You got me, I get you kind of thing. But like you just said, she's about to indiscriminately kill as many soups as she can.
Yeah.
And gleefully do it. Like she's talking to Maddie. He's like, yeah, as many, like we're trying to get this done. We're trying to pump up our numbers. Yeah, it is what it is. I thought it was really big of Mallory in that moment to not take that offer. And then I got super excited because when she walks away, Mallory picks up her phone and is like, hey, I got to talk to you about something. And I'm like, that's my boy on that line.
Now she calls Butcher. Butcher's like, I'll take two.
Yeah. What are these cunts doing over there? Yeah. I'll take two.
Yeah.
Does it come in black?
Yeah. So
Uh, and again, we sit here talking about like thinly veiled stuff, but we see Andre's father try to do an interview. He ends up having a seizure, so Andre goes and sees him at the hospital. Like I said, the whole thing happens with. We find out that Andre's father suffers almost brain damage every time that he uses his powers, and that this is hereditary, so it's going to happen to Andre as well. We already see kind of moments of it, and he's kind of hinting at symptoms he may have already felt, which means he's further along in this deterioration than maybe we even knew, which is tragic. That also speaks to like dementia, right? Like hereditary dementia. And when that just hits your father, and then you're like, what the hell? And then they're like, oh, by the way, it's genetic. And then you're like, wait, what? Like, what now?
Oh, decline.
What?
No, thank you.
Yeah. It becomes a ticking clock, and then what do you do with that information? Do you sit and you doom yourself because you know what will happen, or do you try your best to live in that moment? There's no easy answers there, but I love that they pose the question with that. But in a moment that's a little bit too close to things, we see that Victoria Newman is not great at keeping the soup community wrangled in this moment or in this meeting. And amidst the meeting, student protesters incite a riot and create a Soup Lives Matter movement. I think at one point they said like, you cannot contain us. They're doing the you cannot contain us chant. This is very reminiscent of the you cannot replace us chant from the North Carolina. Was it North Carolina?
Charlottesville. Yeah.
Charlottesville, yeah. Charlottesville's marches, going back to the white genocide thing that they were talking about from last. It's all so poignant in this moment. Super, super, super poignant. While evacuating, because everything's going to shit, Newman meets Marie, and they discover that they have similar powers and upbringings. Marie tries to convince Newman to expose the woods, but Newman convinces her to pursue a position of power with political or cultural influence instead. Newman's kind of always been on this track, right? She's playing the long game.
Yeah, she's going long. I don't think she's even people even know she has powers. I think for all we all know, she's a normal person. I mean,
and that's even more insidious, right? Because she's portraying herself as a superhero, like liaison.
Yeah,
like I'm playing on both sides. Like, no, you actually are just one, and you're just
and she's literally killing the competition.
Yes.
Yeah. So like,
remember that courtroom scene, people. Remember that courtroom scene where she's taking people out. Is she right? We know the duplicitous nature of this character. Is she right that you don't just torch down the woods? You get a standing behind you. You go through the right legal matters. You create a political movement, and then you change it in there, or do sometimes you just gotta kick a door down?
See, that's a lot of questions. But I mean, it's poignant in the fact that like that's what you should do, but like at the same time, like history tells us otherwise. That you take over and then you apologize later if you try to do it the legit way. It doesn't always work out, or even if you try to do it the wrong way, it doesn't work out. It's she's such an intriguing character, probably one of the most complex characters in the entire genre, because like, I mean, she's playing the political game while playing the other game as well. While she's literally killing people that go against her, but like from afar. I mean, so like she's one of the most intriguing characters for me in the entire show, or the entire universe.
I'm sorry for constantly putting you in this hot seat, but I just think of interesting questions as you speak, because it just my synapses are firing. Who do you think is more emotional in this moment, Newman or Marie? Because while Newman may not seem emotional, she's so emotional that she could ignore all the little stuff, right? All what she's so emotional that she's laser focused. Where obviously Marie's so emotional right now, she's waiting to cut the red ribbons. We don't got time for bureaucracy. We need to just stop this whole woods thing in general.
It's got to be Marie, but only because Newman's like ready for it. Only because she's like, she can compartmentalize these things. Whereas, I mean, she's a politician. She has to be. But like, whereas Marie seems like oh, I'm reacting like just a person would, this
has all been like a week maybe in her life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this has been what a rough week. Like, I've had some bad weeks. It ain't nothing like this.
First week at school. Wah, wah.
Yeah, like person dies, detective agency, forget powers, potential assault.
Yep.
Like what a wild week.
Penises blowing up, people
Yeah.
growing 90 times their size. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Um, so we see Kate force Shetty to kill herself. After she is forced to reveal the truth about the woods and its creator, Thomas Godyu. And her motivation for creating the virus. It turns out no child is sent to God to learn from the school. The school is a front so that Vought can study young soups for their own gain. Dr. Cardosa meets with Newman to give her a virus sample in hopes that she will blow a whistle on this whole thing, but she uses her abilities to kill him as a means of preventing his knowledge from spreading. Is she hoping for like a false flag kind of
Oh,
situation?
that's a good question. I don't know. I kind of saw it
She's
as
playing 5D chess. She was playing 5D chess in seasons where I couldn't even tell what she was doing. So
yeah, like
I don't know if my suspicion is even close to anything, but it feels like she wants an incident to happen to either blame it on something or use it to usher. And the more I say this stuff, it's just so like true to life.
no,
Like in order to usher legislation quicker than it possibly can go. If an
I mean
incident happens, then you can.
that's the way to do it. Like, I mean, if yeah, or like if the goal is like with Vought has such a power grab on everybody, if you slowly discredit Vought, eventually their funding runs out, and it's a corporation without money, ain't nothing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and
Like
they're on the
she,
back foot because
yeah,
they lost members of the Seven. Everyone knows about the Compound V incident. Homelander's on trial for killing that dude. Regardless of whether or not he still works for Vought or not.
yeah,
So it'll be very interesting to see the PR moves and we see some of it in the final
yeah.
episode, right? Of them picking
Poor
new members of the
Ashley.
Seven. But it's funny to see that they're already on the case of like, we need to rebrand, we need to get people back on the side. It's so insidious because again, you watch these superhero shows for lasers and punches and all that kind of stuff, right? Like superpower, super speed, all that kind of stuff. No, the real stuff that's happening is bureaucracy, lying,
Mhm.
subjugating, and prejudice, and the things that we deal with kind of in a normal day. So it's bonkers. But we are rounding to the finale here. Um, while Vought CEO Ashley Barrett, who I love that character. I
Yeah,
love
great
that
character.
she started like as an intern or something, right? Like she started way
Yes.
lower on the card. I think almost all of her superiors have either died or killed themselves. We know that she loses her hair because she's been pulling
Hmm.
it out.
Yes.
Um, so she meets with the God U trustees on how to spin Lucas' suicide. Um, Kate and Sam return to the woods and free the remaining captives before leading them in killing non-soups across campus. Were you surprised by Kate's seemingly overnight radicalization? I'm gonna say no. Um, Given all the facts on the table and seeing that how she's been pulled and pushed by people like Shetty and Brink and stuff like that, I can see her. It's almost easier to do it this way than it is to take any kind of responsibility or have to pick and choose
Oh, for
who's
sure.
good and who's bad.
Yeah, she definitely was like, "Oh, it's their. They made me do these things. I'll make everyone else pay."
Yeah,
As opposed to take responsibility for their actions.
yeah. What do you think about her and Sam as a duo?
That's tough. I mean, because
Yeah,
I feel like Sam alone was stronger than Golden Boy. I
yeah,
mean, they were spiking his blood with or Golden Boy blood with Sam's to make him stronger. Like,
yeah.
Sam seems more durable. It's like he just seems like potentially one of the toughest characters from a physical standpoint that we've seen. Now, again, mentally not so much. So I mean, but like having them back to back, that's a tough combination.
Were you afraid at all when Sam starts to talk a bit more crazy? Because I think it's in Shetty's office where he starts to be like, well, I want to be a hero, and a hero means stopping all the people that hurt you or whatever
Yeah,
kind of
you're gonna be
stuff.
stopping the bad guys.
Yeah.
His again, this is about the show, not
The
about
show,
life.
just the show. Yeah,
I,
100%
I
people. Don't come on my man's.
yeah, I think it's really easy to take someone who wants to believe a certain thing and say they're doing the people that hurt you were doing it this way, so you should hurt them, and then you can do it the way you want to.
Yeah.
Again, you won't contain us when he's literally been in prison for most of his life. Like I think it's really easy to hear those words and go, oh, like, yeah, they're right. I've been imprisoned, and they've been holding me down this whole time. So I can't, I think he's probably the easiest person to turn as
Hmm.
opposed to like someone like Kate, who's like, nah,
Right.
uh, not really taking
And
the hero.
I think if you think of some of the most fringe um uh parts of society out there, and I mean more the more damaging ones, like the super
Yeah.
misogynistic ones or the super racist ones or the super Nazi ones, like any of those, it the seed that's planted is usually you feel like something's not right in the world, and someone tells you you're right to believe that, and I can tell you why. I can tell you
Mm-hmm.
what's actually wrong. And because you actually don't have an answer when provided with one, that makes sense. It was always them. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, now it's much more easier. Now that I know who the enemy is, it's much easier now to do what we got to do. Again, to say death to all
Yes.
non-powered peoples, it's a bit of a generalization. Not everyone put you in this position, but again, enough people did.
Well, just look at Nazi Germany. It's all I'll say. Look at
Yeah,
like 1920s Germany, and
yeah,
and it's kind of the same premise.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
doing this their fault, and it definitely leads you a certain way.
Super easy to scapegoat. Super easy to scapegoat. Marie, Jordan, and Emma attempt to contain the chaos. Marie demonstrates increased mastery of her powers. Sam suffers hallucinations of Luke, who tells him to stop and reveals exactly how he died. But Sam ignores him and allows Kate to destroy his ability to feel emotions. That kind of, I was like, that's not good. God, is that not
Yeah.
good? Feel nothing, Kate?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, girl? Did you not think that through? It's like when you wish for things, you give your three wishes. You have to be very careful with the words you say. You want him
Monkey
to feel
paw.
nothing, so he feels no remorse,
Mm-hmm.
so he feels no guilt. None of the good emotions that keep us in line, and he has the powers of a god. Not great.
Yeah.
Uh, Andre learns that polarity seizures was a result of brain damage. We spoke about this, and that he might um, he might be succumbing to this as well. He's given outright the polarity mantle. He's like, I got the suit for you, bro. You got it, whatever. And he uses some powers in this to help, and we can kind of see some residual effects. I think he was talking to Maria or whatever like that, and he seemed to almost not even recognize her. Because they were saying that it messes with memory and stuff. I wonder how far this is gonna go with this character. And we'll see, I guess, the habilitating effects of using this power. But by choosing to, that makes him a hero, right? Kind of.
Self-sacrifice. That's kind of the whole
Yeah.
point of being a hero, but you
Yeah.
do the right thing at all costs, but like it sucks. Like he's because
Yeah.
he at this point in the series, I'm fully on him. I'm on his side. Like I'm fully with him.
Yeah.
And then so like seeing him go like, well, like it's gonna happen. I gotta do the right thing. It's what Golden Boy would do. And I have to repent for all the shitty things I did to him. It's what my dad would do.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a level of rebellion in him at the beginning that it kind of seems as if he works out along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
it kind of reminds me of the whole like glorious purpose thing with the whole Loki thing.
mhm.
Like what his father wants is glory, but real purpose comes with burden. It comes with
Yeah.
sacrifice, and that's what he's learning in this instance. This is what being a hero is really all about. It's not about being number one and having the statue and I got all these sponsors and stuff like that. These are the true moments here, um, that really matter when push comes to shove. So Jordan is there, everyone's fighting, and then Marie sees Jordan, and then sees that Kate's hand is coming towards Jordan in an attempt to brainwash Jordan, and so Marie just blows it up. She
Mhm.
literally just
God, yes.
explodes the hand. Tell me about this moment. What'd you think?
Well, one, I was like, she's so much further evolved. She went from
Yeah,
like small explosion on Wiener to like pulling up the thing to like blowing up a whole arm.
yeah,
Like I remember I'm just sitting in my TV and just going like, oh my god, wow! Like
yeah.
also like I mean, can she only touch with her hands? So now she only gets one.
Right, right.
This,
I wonder how that works. The half powers now.
yeah,
Yeah,
like this is one of
that
those
guy
moments where I was like,
shoulder
word.
rub. You show the rub.
Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
show the rub to use your powers now. It's there's hilarity in it because you can also tell that it was Marie's first instinct. It wasn't like what she wanted to
Mhm.
do. She just wanted to make sure that Jordan didn't get touched, and her first reaction was to blow that arm up. Absolutely funny stuff. Um, we got a moment earlier on where the all the vault people were in a helicopter, and
Mhm.
that what a shitty moment was that, right? All the vault people are trying to escape, and they call up members of God U and are like, "Hey, if you could save us, you have a seat in the seven." So Marie's down there trying to help, and ultimately they to save them from them they were trying to target a helicopter they were in. She pulls the blood from several people on the ground and
Mhm.
sends blood sickles stabbing through various people. So yes, her powers are growing. We know that she can now sense invisible people
Mhm.
because she can feel their heartbeat and sense the blood going into their veins. That was a super cool little visual that we got there, where she just basically can see the whole circulatory system. Um, but yeah, that all happens, and we're all like, okay, worst comes, like her arms blown off. There's dead people everywhere.
Yes.
That guy was burning people's faces. That weird suit was burning people. Everyone's dying, and we're all like, okay, this is all crazy. Show's about to end. It's all over. And then Homelander shows up. And you know what, man? Every time I think that I like that I'm over his whole unhinged act, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. He shows up and gives like a look, and you're like, oh, he's gonna kill everybody in
He's
this
gonna
room.
kill everyone. He's gonna kill everyone on the ground.
That's my instant thought. And like she goes to say something, he's like, mm-mm. And I'm like, oh no, what's about to happen? And then he's like, do you like killing your own kind? Do you like hurting superpowered people? A very weird reading of what's going on in this situation because that's not what's going on at all. But he doesn't question it at all. And then like again, blackout, and then they wake up in a sealed hospital room at an
Mhm.
unknown location. Very strange. And Vought is saying that Sam and Kate saved everybody, and they
Mhm.
are now the guardians of God U. Terrifying. Those two being the poster children for that school. Like, no, like any of that.
Yeah.
Um, so before we get to the post credits, what do you feel about this ending? Our heroes are now in some undisclosed location, locked up. I believe. Oh yeah, they straight up said they died. Right? The news they
I
reported that
think so.
they
They
were
were, yeah,
killed.
they were something like that. Yeah.
So no
Um,
one's even looking for them now.
yeah. The boys, the whole world, they always find a way to give me the most like the worst ending and make me want more.
Yeah,
Like, so I want, and so it's like the bad guy wins, and I'm like, fuck, like we like, it's always like in all the stories that we follow, it's always the good guys winning. And then so far, there's always setbacks for the bad guys, but I feel like they're always a step ahead, especially with
yeah,
Homelander. Um,
right.
and so it's just kind of like man, like where do we go from here? Like what's everyone that can do anything, they're imprisoned somewhere. We don't know. There's no doors, there's a vent.
Right.
We don't know how they're gonna eat, sleep, survive, water, nothing. Like they're just we don't know how long they've been there.
Right.
So I find that they give me the most, you know, doom and gloom endings, but it makes me come back every time
Yeah.
excited to see how the heroes survived.
Yeah,
Um,
they got to.
yeah, so like that was kind of it for me. We're just kind of like,
Yeah,
all right,
I think that I was more concerned about the Guardians, the new Guardians of the Globe, or Guardians of the Globe. That's Invincible. Guardians of God U. Yeah. those two are both unhinged. Does she get a
Mhm.
prosthetic arm? Very interested in seeing how that goes, and what her
Misty Knight.
powers are like now. Yeah, yeah, what her powers are now. Incredible stuff, incredible work. And like I said, the whole big thing, like you just said, is this ends on kind of a depressing note in the sense that you can't beat the system. The system's
Yeah.
bigger. The system's been here for longer. There's more people already entrenched in it, and the idea is you think you're above it, you're in it, and you can't beat it, or at least you can't beat it coloring inside the lines.
Hmm.
We were led to believe that although these children are missing and not presumed dead, actually said that they're dead,
Yeah.
that'd be the cause for no one to be looking for them. But someone was put on the trail, our boy Billy Butcher, because in the mid-credit scene we see Billy Butcher investigate the ruins of the woods, the hospital that they where they released all those soups. Man. Man, do we need a Gen B season 2, or does
Uh, we're getting
Gen
one.
B tie into
Oh,
the boys
Gen B
season
season two has
4?
been confirmed,
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes, you're
and
100%. Like a week after it came out, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they've confirmed it. It will run, I think, or it'll start filming after four comes out. After
Okay.
season four of The Boys comes out. So, I just don't. I want. Do they tie it all in? Are we getting new college kids? I'm not sure. There's a lot more questions I have than close to answers.
I don't think we have an actual date yet for the boys season 4.
No, I think
They seemingly have wrapped up the whole thing, and boy, they're gonna have a field day with Homelander on trial.
mhm.
Fake news and all that stuff. They're already saying that Russia conspired, conspired to cause the event of where he kills that guy in the thing.
Oh,
Somehow,
that's
some way,
funny. That's
Russia
funny.
had a part with it. They say it in this. Um, so bonkers. We also know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is joining the cast next year
Yes.
for the boys, or next season for the boys. Super super exciting. Um, but I do wonder where all this goes. My big thing again, I'm wondering who Kate's brother is, because that shoe's gonna drop. But incredibly entertaining show, a bunch of fun, a bunch of really cool music. They do some cool needle drops in this that are pretty funny when they do Missy Elliott's "Work It" while Tech Knight's humping everything in the world. It's pretty cool stuff. They do, like when they do the reveal of Kate, they play "I'll Put a Spell on You" at the end of
Mhm.
that, kind of they play
Oh,
around with
that's
that whole thing
interesting.
of that. Yeah, it's all they play around fast and loose with that kind of stuff. But it felt like good episode count. No filler. Keep it 8. Everything was tight. I don't think there's an episode here you can ditch. I think every part of it
Yeah,
builds
it all
not
made
only
sense.
the characters here, but it builds the universe, and that's the universe that we're seemingly having fun playing in. Mostly because we don't got to be the ones covered in blood, which is
Hmm.
very, very, very important. Do you have any last words on Gen V?
It was a fun start. It was a fun ride, and it was even a more fun finish. Highly recommend it. Anyone hasn't got to it yet, there's still so much that we didn't cover, so everyone should definitely give it a watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to great lengths to recommend it to several people. I know there are people, like you said again, that have superhero fatigue, and I think that this can kind of jostle them out of it. And also, you know, I like the real quick aside. I believe in the wholesomeness that comic books can portray on occasion.
Mhm.
I'm a bit of an idealist optimist in that way, and I think we did hit the wrong mark when we started to kind of just edge everyone, make everyone edgy. So I like that this exists, so it can be the barrier. You don't want to hit this. If you're here, you've
Yeah.
gone too far. If you're at the homeland of it all, you've gone too far, which means there's so much further to go in the right direction when we do
Mhm.
like redo Superman in 2025, etc. and so forth. Also, shout outs to Seth Rogen, who helped executive produce, The Boys, Gen V. He's doing voices on Invincible. He just did Mutant Mayhem with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My guy's killing it. Who would have thought, he would be such a treasure to the comic book world? But, here we are. And we hope to be a continued treasure in the comic book world because the Major Issues podcast comes out every single Thursday. We're on a new week now, ahead of episode 300 episodes in the bank. And we're available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcast app, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Turns out I did something I guess I should have done a long time ago, which was claim our podcast on Spotify. So everyone that's doing like a Spotify Wrapped, are you familiar with this?
Yes.
They do that for podcasts. And according to that, this podcast has been listened to in over 12 countries. So that is super interesting, super interesting. And for 30 people, and listen, that's good enough for me. For 30 people, we are in their top 10 podcasts that they listen to in rotation. And that feels good. Hey, come in when you want to. You can leave when you want to. You know, this is Cheers, man. Everybody knows your name, but I'm just glad we're in some people's rotation, you know, steadily. That feels really, really good. But we'll keep doing what we keep doing on this side. That's new episodes every single Thursday. The quickest way to find all our episodes, besides all those apps I just told you, go to ComicBookClique.com. It's the one stop to learn everything about Comic Book Clique. Read our articles. Every single episode of the Major Issues podcast lives there, and it gets you to our merch shop, tpublic.com/comicbookclick, where I create all the merchandise. And if you buy it, not only do you get an exclusive piece of Comic Book Click merchandise, but we get a kickback here, and that helps us afford the hardware and the software that we need to keep providing you guys free content each and every week. We love to do it. Sometimes it can get pricey, so anything that can help. You know, we do deep dives here. We're both spending some time on this episode, and you know, it's time that I wouldn't trade for the world, but if you want to trade something with us, you know, any kind of support would help. Monetarily, I just told you, you can buy a t-shirt. You can become a Patreon at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. You can help support us. And let's say you don't have any money. It's hard times, man. Christmas is around the corner. Completely get it. So why don't you give the gift of the Major Issues podcast? Tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast, free of charge. Just spread the word of Comic Book Click and everything that we're doing here. Go on iTunes and rate us 5 stars. It'll help us find other people who are looking for our kind of content and looking to find us. We're out there trying to search. I don't have Cerebro on right now, bro. It's hard, you know, in these streets. So I'm just hoping that those people can find us. But if you know a person that would dig this kind of content, let them know, and let them know that they're listening to the global Major Issues podcast. We out here, baby. So yeah, follow us wherever the conversation is, which is at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or you can use the hashtag comicbookclick to learn about the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. And I'll tell you guys a secret. I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media, but I can't tell you how we do it, or else Compound V becomes a real thing. I'll mess up the timeline. Compound V becomes a real thing. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson takes it. He becomes a real life Homelander. No one wants any of that to happen. So don't mess up the timeline. Get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. Follow Major Issues and Comic Book Click wherever we are going, because you know there's only one place that we're really going, and that is to the moon. But I think that's all my. Oh, we're at Major Issues CBC on Twitter. We're also at Major Issues CBC on Twitch. I will be finishing my Spider-Man stuff. I have to, bro. I'm at 85. I'm right there. I'm right there. All of my story mode is recorded on Twitch, so I want to get that last piece, because then it'll just be like a little mini movie of all my ridiculousness when it comes to Spider-Man. And guess what? When we're done wrapping that up, we'll be here to talk about it. Once enough time is allotted, we'll be here to chop up all about Marvel Spider-Man 2. Where can the people find you, Asa, if you want to be found?
Anywhere on Facebook, Asa Griffith, Instagram and Threads. Asa H. Griffith, I believe, is a big mustache is the profile picture. I rant about politics if people want to hear about those things.
I mean, come on. I mean, what do people who read comic books, they want to get political? Come on. No, come on, baby. It's all right there. This is life that we're talking about. We're just using colorful capes and cowls to talk about the real stuff that really matters. So you keep doing what you're doing over there, broski, and make sure you're still coming over here to do what we do over here. This has been a hell of an episode. Loved having you on for this. But my name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
And I am All-Star Asa Griffith.
And this has been our recap and review of The Boys, of Gen V Season 1. Cut that. And remember, whether you can shrink or grow, have the gift of flight or can put up a fight, get off on Compound V or like how Tech Knight gets off. Just get off on CBC and always remember that you, yes, you are worthy.